me about his 3-year-old son. The child had been suffering from a sore throat, and the local shaman had advised Pet and his wife to slaughter a chicken. When they did, the boy recovered. "Sometimes it works," Pet said. "Sometimes it doesn't." Animism apparently coexists peacefully enough with the predominant belief system, Theravada Buddhism, practiced by most lowland Lao. All teaching in upland schools, however, is in the Lao language. Khmu children still learn their mother tongue from their mothers. We passed a shop displaying glass bottles of pink gasoline. 2 doors down, an elderly couple hailed Pet and invited us into their small courtyard. The man was squatting on the baked red earth, stripping bamboo with a knife. He was going to weave rattan. The woman, wearing an assortment of quilted garments and leg warmers, ducked into a concrete breeze-block lean-to and returned, all smiles, with a plate of mountain cucumber, cool, crisp and green. "I remember," Pet said, "when all the roofs were thatched. We had to replace them every year after the rains. So we changed to metal. It's much better." He told me later that the couple's 3 children work on a Chinese banana plantation elsewhere in Laos and send money home so their parents don't have to work their own paddy. Laos today is effectively a client state of China. The border is less than 80 kilometres from the village where I ate the cucumber, though the satellite dishes sprouting from stilted Khmu homes pick up Thai TV. The long arc of these blue hills surges from the Andaman Sea to the Tonkin Gulf via Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, China and Vietnam. The hills, of course, were there long before people who weren't Khmu invented concepts like countries and borders and nationalities. As we left the village, Pet and I passed a complicated wooden structure on the roadside, like a kind of Meccano model fashioned from teak a long time ago. "That is a gate," said Pet, "to allow good spirits in and keep bad spirits out." At that moment, 4 Khmu women emerged from the trees with baskets on their backs and machetes in their hands. They had been gathering firewood, their cooking fuel. Foreign corporations don't bother with the machetes, they have machinery for that job. As recently as 2000, forest covered at least 75% of Laos. Since then, a quarter of the trees have gone, representing a loss of unprecedented speed, even in hidden corners like this one, where the world doesn't often care to look. Laos currently sits at number 114 out of 180 in the Transparency International Corruption Index. A communist government has ruled Laos since the 1975 revolution. Official policy of the ruling Lao People's Revolutionary Party promotes unity among all ethnic groups, and the regime deploys the Khmu as a symbol of cultural diversity. But many Khmu told me that all groups are not treated equally in this utopia, just as they aren't in any other, and that the handsome LPRO slogan masks human rights violations. On the road south, we stopped at a market. A Khmu woman was crocheting a net to catch river fish using plastic unravelled from an already recycled fertiliser sack. She was selling plugged bamboo tubes full of writhing grubs. Several had escaped, glistening and fat and oozing a viscous, Christmas pudding-coloured fluid. "Now those," said Pet, pointing, "are delicious."
That was Sarah Wheeler. I'm Pascal Harter. The producer was Polly Hope. And you can hear more about the real lives behind the news headlines by searching for From Our Own Correspondent on bbc.com. We'll be back next weekend looking at some of the stories likely to shape our world in the new year. So do join us again then, here on the BBC World Service.
That was the BBC programme from our own correspondent.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. How you doing? How is the holiday season if you celebrate Christmas? Welcome to the week between. The last week of the year, I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here live in downtown Winnipeg on 89.3 FM, 990 AM. On the app and YouTube, you are on CBC. Thanks for being with us. Let's get into what's happening weather-wise briefly, and then we'll say good morning to the team. So Winnipeg, increasing clouds today. Our high is going to be minus 16 if you're doing things, getting out and about. If you're in the city of Brandon, increasing cloud, your high is -12. Now, up north, you're going to get some snow. Thompson, with periods of snow beginning this morning, about 2 centimeters to start, and your high will be -21 with wind chill -35. So bundle up, folks, up in Thompson. And now to the team. Good morning, Abby Adeyemi. Abby is in a different role today. He's directing the show. He'll be on air covering weather and traffic. We're going to pretty much just make him do everything except host. Although if you want to host, Abby, I could pour some coffee. Good morning to Darren Marash, who's behind the controls of YouTube. Say hello to Darren there. And Marshall Hodgins is in behind the control. Good morning, Marshall. So that's our crew in Studio 15. In our news center live this morning is the lovely Heather Wells. It's 2 minutes to 6 o'clock, and she's here to start our day with news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, a Ukrainian living in Winnipeg says she has faith the war could end next year. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced more economic aid for Ukraine after meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky over the weekend. Mila Shakota says a new round of Russian attacks shows the country needs all the help it can get. So we'll hear more from her. And did you feel it? Almost a dozen cars, train cars, derailed near Jubilee Station yesterday. One man who lives in a nearby condo building says it shook from the impact. CN says the cars were not carrying dangerous goods and no one was hurt. We'll hear more in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Yeah, some of those firsthand accounts, if you want to read more from our news department online about how that felt, are really quite something. So we'll have more through the morning. On our show between 7 and 8, there's this bill before the Manitoba legislature. It would see December branded as Christian Heritage Month. Not all Christians see that as a good thing, though. Our faith contributor is here to look at the diversity of opinion. Also on New Year's Eve, some folks locally will trade their Moscow Mule for a downward dog. We're going to hear what one Winnipeg yoga studio is doing for a sober New Year's Eve. So stay tuned. There's also a story about that on World Report, which is coming up in moments.
Breaking news happens anywhere, anytime.
Police have warned the protesters repeatedly.
CBC News brings the story to you live.
Hundreds of wildfires are burning.
Be the first to know what's going on and what that means for you and for Canada.
This situation has changed very quickly.
Helping make sense of the world when it matters most. Stay in the know. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Sam Sampson in Edmonton. Details are emerging from the talks between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Florida. The leaders met for nearly 3 hours to discuss a possible peace plan, and while both say progress is being made, key issues remain unresolved. Steve Futterman is following this story. Steve, what's the latest coming out of the Trump-Zelensky talks?
Well, Sam, it's clear the U.S. and Ukraine seem to be pretty much on the same page, at least based on the comments from Trump and Zelensky after their 2-hour meeting. Take a listen to both men giving their upbeat assessments.
We had a terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things, and I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close.
We had a really great discussions on all the topics, and we appreciate the progress that was made by American and Ukrainian teams.
That's the good news. The complicated news is that they still have to sell their ideas to Vladimir Putin and Russia. That could be a very hard sell. The revised 20-point peace plan, the plan includes 2 key proposals: the establishment of a demilitarized zone in eastern Ukraine and an international peacekeeping force to monitor the area. And Trump did admit that some of the issues are a bit tricky, especially when it comes to, as he referred to it, land.
So Russia was not included in these talks. How is Moscow responding?
Well, again, there's a public side and a more complicated, maybe more realistic side. Today, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov indicated that the talks to end the war are in their final stage, whatever that means. And when asked if he agreed with Trump's upbeat assessment, he said, of course. But Russia has not publicly moved from its hardline stance that parts of eastern Ukraine should be handed over to Russia, and there is still no indication that Putin would be willing to agree to that international peacekeeping force, which could involve international military troops. So again, the public face, everyone's saying they're upbeat, they're positive, that something might be close, but still no hard indication that Russia might be willing to agree to this demilitarized zone.
Steve, thank you for this.
Thank you, Sam.
And later today, Trump will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago to discuss the Gaza ceasefire. Well, tensions are rising in the Taiwan Strait as China launches 2 days of military drills around the self-governing island. The exercises include a simulated seizure and blockade of key areas, prompting Taiwan to put its forces on high alert. World Report co-host John Northcott has more from London.
China, which claims the island is part of its territory, says the exercises are to, quote, safeguard China's sovereignty and national unity. This latest show of strength, dubbed Justice Mission 2025, is significant, with destroyers, frigates, fighter aircraft, drones, and rockets. There were live fire exercises in the Straits of Taiwan, and tomorrow senior Chinese military officials are promising even more, including what is described as a military blockade exercise of major Taiwanese ports. Taiwanese presidential spokesperson Karen Kuo, speaking in Taipei, said that Beijing's actions were a threat not only to Taiwan, but to the whole region, adding,
but is also an open challenge to international law and international order. Our country expresses strong condemnation of the Chinese authorities disregarding international norms and using military activities and means to threaten neighboring countries.
While Beijing does not strictly accuse any particular country of provoking this latest flurry of activity, the U.S. recently agreed to sell $10 billion worth of arms to Taiwan. If approved by Congress, it would be the largest such sale ever. And Japan's new right-wing Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, has said in an unprecedented move that if there were to be an attack on Taiwan, her country could respond militarily. John Northcott, CBC News, London.
It's been nearly a year since many U.S. alcohol brands were pulled from Canadian liquor store shelves, a move tied to the Trump administration's trade dispute with Canada. Some Canadian distillers say sales have gone up, but others say they've seen little benefit. Now, American producers are pushing to get their products back into the Canadian market. Michelle Allen reports.
Toronto distillery owner Chris Jack says it's been a tumultuous few years for the spirits industry. After the province pulled U.S. liquor off the shelves, he had hoped more consumers would buy Canadian. But
personally, I've seen a small increase, but it's not massive.
American distilleries are taking a hit. They say exports to Canada have decreased as much as 85%. A trade group representing liquor producers submitted a complaint to the U.S. government, accusing Canadian retailers of favoring local alcohol over booze from south of the border, which it says isn't fair. Some provinces have recorded an increase in demand for Canadian products. Year-end numbers from Ontario's Liquor Board show a 20% increase in local products, but Jack says many Canadian distilleries aren't seeing much extra sales, particularly small local ones like his.
There hasn't been a huge push to bring awareness to new products or really focus on replacing the American products or the space left by the American products being removed with Canadian-made products.
Experts say Canadian distillers are also up against shifting consumer trends, like younger people drinking less alcohol and the high cost of living. Ian Lee is an associate business professor at Carleton University.
They're experiencing these very significant price increases in the food prices, so they're just saying, oh, I'm just not going to buy it right now. I'll do without.
Only Alberta and Saskatchewan have lifted their ban on American booze. It's not clear when or if Ontario will do the same. Michelle Allen, CBC News, Toronto.
This new year, Canadians are lacing up their running shoes. The sport is booming, led by Gen Z. Paula Duhachuk explains why run clubs are having a moment.
All right, everybody, how we feeling tonight? In the parking lot of a Calgary brewery, hundreds of 20 and 30-somethings have gathered to go for a run together.
You know, I think there's been a little bit of a running boom since COVID.
The founder of YYC Run Crew, Rafael Lopez, says many of the club's new members are also new in town. The Alberta bank ATB Financial says in recent years, the province has seen a massive surge in young people moving here from other parts of the country. Millennials and Gen Zs searching for new friends, using run clubs to try and find them.
I think because people are just so tired of just being isolated from other people.
After COVID, I was working from home. I kind of didn't have a social group.
But I know that running has become like
the next dating platform.
Even without a population boom, a similar trend is unfolding elsewhere in the country. Ottawa race organizer Somersault says it's seen about a 300% increase in registration since before the pandemic. It says runners are also getting younger.
As I grew up, at that time it was very fun, and something to envy was to go and get drunk.
But Gen Z expert Michelle Nguyen says that's not cool anymore. Young people are less interested in nightclubs, more interested in run clubs.
Particularly because they're able to invite their friends but still kind of lean into health and wellness.
And while many people pledge to get healthy at this time of year, Nguyen says the Gen Z interest in health and wellness isn't just a passing fad, but a defining part of the generation. Paula Duhacek, CBC News, Calgary.
Hear more on why running is having a moment in Paula's CBC radio special, The Running Revival, airing January 2nd at 5 p.m., 5:30 in Newfoundland. Former Ontario NDP MP Charlie Angus is rethinking retirement. After nearly 21 years in Parliament, he did not seek re-election last spring and planned to write a book. But that plan changed after Donald Trump won the U.S. election. The CBC's Elizabeth Thompson caught up with Angus as he prepared to hit the road and the stage with his band.
I've been everywhere, man, I've been everywhere.
Over the past 8 months, Charlie Angus has indeed been everywhere, from Rustico, Prince Edward Island to BC's Sunshine Coast, and everywhere in between. Last year, Angus decided not to run again as MP for his Northern Ontario riding. He wanted a break from politics, to work on a book. Then Donald Trump got elected.
We're facing the threat to democracy. We're facing a threat to our border, which is very real.
Angus has been speaking at town halls across the country, urging Canadians to stand up to Trump. He's also returned to his musical roots, playing gigs with his band, the Grievous Angels.
Well, I'm having a blast. I love this country. I love traveling. I love going into these communities.
Along the way, he's also developed a following on social media. So for now, he'll keep fighting Donald Trump and taking that message across Canada. Elizabeth Thompson, CBC News, Ottawa.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Sam Sampson. This is CBC News.
Good morning, everyone. How you doing? It is the week between Christmas and New Year coming up. Last week of 2025. And we're glad to be with you live on Information Radio. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You are with CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. And this hour on our program, it has been a topsy-turvy year, speaking of 2025, for electric vehicles. We're going to hear how the year that was may spill over into the year ahead for EVs. We'll also try to have a look at where Manitoba's at with some of our infrastructure this hour. Also this hour on the show, U.S. law enforcement officials allege Canadian Ryan Wedding is a drug lord who heads up a transnational criminal network. We're going to hear more about his trajectory from former Olympian to wanted fugitive. Ryan Wedding's story, that's coming up. Stay with us. Right now with updates on other stories, here's Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba's spine clinic has managed to cut the backlog of those awaiting for spinal surgeries in half. Data provided to CBC News suggests the province has seen about 15% more spinal surgeries in 2024 and 25 compared to 2023. However, some Manitoba patients who were refused out-of-province care say they still feel left in limbo. Thinking of plugging in your car or maybe doing a project in the garage this winter? The Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service wants you to be extra careful to avoid a potentially dangerous fire. Over the weekend, crews responded to 3 different garage fires in 24 hours. We're going to hear from the city's deputy fire chief coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into what's happening weather-wise here. Abby Adiemi's popped into the studio. You're on this side of the glass.
I know, Marcy.
What is going on?
It's the holiday feeling. The Grinch is gone.
It's nice to see you in person on this side.
Nice to see you on this side.
Abby's directing, so he gets to come into this side of the glass today.
Did you notice the weekend, Marcy? All those -4s and -5s we spotted on the temperature?
Yeah.
I was out and about like, this feels good.
Yeah.
And I was like, I literally was out with my shirts at some point.
I'll tell you what, though, it wasn't that exciting for driving. They're cleaning a lot this morning, so you're going to watch for that in traffic because I passed a whole bunch of crews. But some of when it got milder and then that stuff built up, it was like mashed potatoes on the roadways. So it was a little crazy out there.
Yeah, you still need to take it easy if you're out and about today because we still have some chilly conditions and now we're way below those sub-zero points. So it's going to be slippery in major spots outside. Chilly start to the week across the province. Sub-zero temperatures gripping most of the regions this morning. We're tracking some snow in the northern part of the province, while down south we will see a mix of sun and clouds increase as we get into the day. Looking at conditions right now in Winnipeg, frigid -24. It's clear outside for now, but expect mainly cloudy conditions to sweep in as the day goes on, with light breeze shifting to the north, pushing our temperatures down to about -15 this afternoon, and then some clouds will definitely roll in later in the evening. Now we'll see the temperatures around -18. Across the southern regions, we're looking at -21s to -27s at this time, and most of the regions will see highs near -14. But up north, we're still seeing temperatures around, with those dangerous wind chills of -41 in the northern part of the province. So take it easy out there. But for Winnipeg right now, we're looking at -24. It's clear. You see anything in traffic you want us to know? Let us give us a call, 788-3093.
And I just want to mention that to what Abby said earlier this morning, because they were clearing in all those crews, there were probably about 6 different crews. Like we're talking the big trucks and then 3 people scraping and sanding. They're out in almost double force, it feels like. So just watch for them. And it does leave behind black ice. I know that over the bridge by Polo Park here, it was really, really kind of...
so you need to take it easy.
Extra slick, yeah. So take it easy and use that number, 788-3093. Let's get this hour of our Monday morning show started. As you've just been hearing on World Report, U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday insisted Ukraine and Russia are, quote, closer than ever before, end quote, to a peace deal, as he hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at his Florida resort. But he acknowledged negotiations could still break down and leave the war dragging on for years. And we're going to hear more analysis through the morning. But there was also another meeting this weekend. Zelensky meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney in Halifax. That happened Saturday during a stopover. In that meeting, Carney announcing an additional $2.5 billion in economic aid, saying it will help Ukraine unlock reconstruction financing from the IMF and from the World Bank. CBC's Lauren Scott, as you've been hearing in the news this morning already, did get some reaction over the weekend, but we have a longer piece of her conversation with Miloš Doka, who's a Ukrainian who arrived here in Winnipeg in 2022.
Can you tell me a little bit about what that was like in 2022 when, the war started and you decided to leave? What were you seeing day to day in Kyiv?
The main point, I think, it was when the missile hit the building in 1 kilometer from our building. And after that, we decided to leave Kyiv. First, we went to the western Ukraine for 2 months. And after that, we learned about the QED program. We submitted an application, and our application was accepted. And in August 2022, we arrived to Canada. And to be honest, we didn't know if it will be forever or not. And we packed our stuff and sent it to my mom's home. And we thought, if we will stay in Canada, so I said, my mom, you can do what you want with this stuff. If not, after 1 year, we will decide if we go back or not.
And I'd love to, just kind of moving to the meeting that Zelensky and Carney had. They met in Halifax yesterday, and Carney, said that there's, Canada has strong support for Ukraine, and that will continue to do. What does that make you feel as a Ukrainian?
Why it is important right now? As you know, the night before last, Russia launched 40 cruise missiles and 500 drones into Ukraine. And this is what is happening every single day. It is systematically destroying infrastructure, energy, housing, and so on. According to estimates for early 2025, the direct damage to Ukraine's infrastructure from the war has reached approximately $170 billion, including housing, transport, energy, and social facilities. Therefore, Ukraine needs funds to stabilize the economy, rebuild destroyed infrastructure, housing, hospitals, roads, help the victims, support businesses, and ensure the functioning of the state in war conditions. The economy should not break under the pressure of war. And at the same time, we are not talking only about the here and now, but also about the architecture of support after the ceasefire. And when I think about the Canada's support of Ukraine, I'm very grateful to Canada for never in history giving any reason to doubt its support for Ukraine. Canada was the first to officially recognize the Holodomor in Ukraine as genocide of the Ukrainian people. Canada has one of the largest Ukrainian diasporas in the world, with over about 1.3 million people of Ukrainian origin living here. Since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion, the federal government, I mentioned that already, has opened a special program for Ukrainians called the QIET, thanks to which about 300,000 Ukrainians had come to Canada to build a new safe life. In total, including military and humanitarian assistance, Canada has already provided Ukraine with about, if I remember correctly, 22 billion Canadian dollars of multi-component aid, of which over 12 billion CAD is the direct financial support. So Canada remains a strong donor to Ukraine during the war. That's why I feel deep gratitude for the consistent position and confident that it will continue to provide it.
I'm wondering what your hopes are, for peace in the future.
I hope it will be possible in next year, 2026. I really hope, and all Ukrainians hope. But we'll see. This is our strong desire.
Yeah, and just lastly, your kind of hopes for yourself in Canada as well.
Of course. My dream is, every new year, I write my plans and dreams on a small piece of paper for the next year. And after the year has finished, I open this piece of paper and I see if it became true or not. And each year I write the strongest desire that was finished, and so that we will be able to gather all our family to go to Ukraine, because now my family is in different countries. My mom is in Ukraine, I'm in Canada, my sister is in Slovakia, and we want to see each other and to go to Ukraine all together and have a great time together.
So that was Mila Shtoko, Ukrainian, who came to Winnipeg in 2022 when the war began, in conversation this weekend about some of the reactions to the meetings that Zelensky had with Prime Minister Mark Carney and also with U.S. President Donald Trump. She was in conversation there with the CBC's Lauren Scott. Now, as for those meetings, in case you're just waking this Monday morning and you want to plug into World Report, Trump and Zelensky yesterday met. They both acknowledged thorny issues remain in the war, including whether Russia can keep Ukrainian territory it controls. After their discussion, they called a wide group of European leaders to discuss what the developments were. Zelensky also said last week, just as a reminder, that he would be willing to withdraw troops from Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland as part of a plan to end the war if Russia also pulls back and the area becomes a demilitarized zone monitored by international forces. So that's those conversations with the European leaders. The very latest online anytime at cbc.ca or coming up in your next World Report at 7.
If it happened today, find out today. That's the power of having the news in your hand. Get late-breaking news from reporters across the country, straight to your mobile device. Customize your experience with news from your region and what matters to you. Whether it's big headlines, detailed articles, live events, or on-demand video, CBC News has got you covered. Connect to the world. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
6:22 a.m. the time right now, Monday morning, minus 25 in Winnipeg. It is clear and will be around minus 16 today with increasing cloud. The wind should stay calm, though, which is what we're looking for in these winter months. Well, next on the show, Ryan Wedding has gone from one-time Team Canada Olympian, whose name you might have known from that, to one of the FBI's most wanted. He has been on the run since 2015. He's accused of running a violent drug trafficking organization. Last month, U.S. authorities announced additional charges. And here in Canada, Ryan Wedding's story has been back in the news as well, after a lawyer allegedly connected to the fugitive was granted bail. Now, to talk more about what we understand about the story, Peter Edwards is here, organized crime reporter for the Toronto Star and an award-winning author. He joins us via Zoom. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. So let's take a step back here, Peter. Well, who is Ryan Wedding in the big picture? And how did he go from former Olympian to alleged drug kingpin?
He $250,000 from his father when he dropped.
You know, Peter, we're having trouble hearing you, and it's because of the visual. So I'm actually going to ask you to take your camera off, and we'll just talk via Zoom audio, because it's important to hear what you're saying this morning. This happens. It's tech. It's live radio. So if you just take your camera off there, let's see if we can get a clear signal. And if not, we'll call you back.
Okay. Is this better? The Zoom's off now.
Yeah, absolutely better. So yes, tell us more about Ryan Wedding. Who is he?
So he placed 24th in the Olympics 25 years ago, and was very disappointed. He could have had a medal. He just misjudged the conditions. He dropped out of snowboarding, went to university. That didn't connect. His dad gave him $250,000 to get started in life, and he invested in a grow up. And then he basically used the discipline, and he had kind of a fearless style of snowboarding. He translated that into drug trafficking, and now he's possibly the biggest or one of the biggest in Canada. I don't think that he's the threat to the States that they're making him out to be. I think he's a distraction from Epstein, but he is a big deal in drug trafficking, or believed to be, and connected to the Sinaloa cartel, which is almost like an alternate government in one part of Mexico.
Yes, and as you rightfully pointed out there, allegedly all of this is at the stage of being allegation. So what is he accused of doing by authorities in Canada and the States? Can you bring us sort of up to the latest?
Sort of the real Coles Notes version would be that he's accused of moving about $1 billion worth of cocaine. He's also accused of orchestrating the murder of a key witness against him. There was a Montrealer who was killed in Medellin, Colombia, and he's accused of setting that up. And so those are the big ones.
And is he facing charges in the States?
Oh yes, he could be doing a life sentence if he's convicted if he's caught and convicted in the States.
You, as I mentioned, have covered, Peter, organized crime for a long time as a reporter. What has struck you about this story?
The power of the internet. This is a very smart guy, and he uses the internet well. And so even though He was in Mexico a year ago, like he was cited at a Starbucks, but he could be in Qatar, he could be in Dubai, he could be in Australia. He's good enough on the internet. He could be anywhere. There's that. There's also the fact that he had options. Like, this wasn't someone who the only way he could feed himself was moving drugs. He could have done a lot of other things and was smart enough for other things. There's something oddly Canadian about him. He's not racist, and he reaches out to other groups, and so that means his scope is huge. He can pop up anywhere, and he's had some plastic surgery, and
I think we unfortunately have paused Peter's signal there. Are you still with us, Peter?
Oh, yes.
Great. You're just breaking up a touch. We're just not having great luck this morning, but that's okay.
Yeah, the weather isn't so great here.
Oh, that's all right. It's all good. We all get it. You were just talking about how, as you put it in this statement, you just said there's something oddly Canadian about him. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that? I do believe we probably lost Peter now. Well, Peter has done a lot of reporting on Ryan Wedding, and so has CBC. If you want to read the latest, cbc.ca, and you won't just find the latest articles, but you're going to find back articles as well. Peter Edwards reporting with us live this morning as an organized crime reporter for the Toronto Star and an award-winning author talking about Ryan Wedding. He has been a fugitive, as we mentioned, now for more than a decade, since 2015, and has managed to evade arrest. And right now, of course, there's developments because, as I mentioned, he became back in the news when someone that he had been formerly associated with came out of jail. So if you want to read more about that, you can check it out online.
CBC's New Year's Eve show is back, and we want to know, what are you doing on New Year's Eve? Last year, we reached 6.8 million Canadians as we counted down live in all 6 time zones. Now, we're looking to join celebrations across Canada. Are you getting married? Doing something special? Send an email to ask@cbc.ca, and we might send our cameras to your party. Get ready for the live Cross Canada Countdown.
I'm Suresh Das. I've spent my career writing about the local favorites that make Canada's food scene truly unique. I bit into a chili. Woo! From vibrant street food to comforting traditional dishes.
The most important ingredients in jollof rice, love.
To innovative, personal twists.
Butter chicken lasagna. Butter chicken lasagna. Yeah. That's what made it all happen.
I believe every bite tells a story. Now, I want to share those stories with you.
New series Locals Welcome with Suresh Das. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Coming up, we have local news at 6:30 on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. And then we are going to dip into what is going on with electric vehicles. Each and every year, we say that we're going to get further ahead with not just the development, but the development of the infrastructure for electric vehicles. As we get ready to wrap up 2025, we're going to have a look at where we're at in this country in that regard. Speaking of vehicles, if you're on the commute this morning, watch for black ice. Certainly in the city of Winnipeg, they still continue to clear and then keep up with sanding, and it gets really slick ahead of that. And it could be busy out there. A lot of people are off, so you never know on the off days. It could be very quiet or very busy, but I suspect with good weather today, you'll have a lot of people out in the roadways. Check 511 for the highway conditions before you head out, and you can always report something to us here at CBC. We'll pass it along on the commuter line. You have to just give us a call and let us know what's up. That number is 788-3093. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. It is cold outside, minus 25 right now. We're going to see increasing clouds, a high today of minus 16 with a risk of frostbite, and then expect a little bit of snow overnight. Manitoba's Spine Clinic has managed to cut the backlog of those waiting for spinal surgeries in half. Data provided to CBC News suggests the province has seen about 15% more spinal surgeries in 2024 and 25 compared to 2023. Dr. Perry Dollywall is a surgeon and medical director of the Manitoba Spine Clinic. He says recent investments are helping reduce wait times in Winnipeg and Brandon.
We've been able to work down the backlog by more than 50% already in 1 year. So just the sheer throughput of having patients assessed is far better than it has ever been in the last 10 or so years that I've been here.
But some Manitoba patients refused out-of-province care say they still feel left in limbo. Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera says the province's focus is to deliver care locally. About a dozen train cars derailed near Jubilee Station yesterday. CN Rail says 8 flipped over on their side. 1 remained upright. David Neufeld lives in a nearby condo building and says the building shook from the impact.
Just the fact that it shook, I thought this is something, I could tell that it was definitely coming from the rail yard.
The cause of the derailment is under investigation, but CN Rail says no dangerous goods, fires, or leaks were reported, and no one was hurt. A Ukrainian living in Winnipeg says she has faith the war could end next year. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced more economic aid for Ukraine after meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky over the weekend. Mila Shikota says a new round of Russian attacks show the country needs all the help it can get.
It is systematically destroying infrastructure, energy, housing, and so on. Ukraine needs funds to stabilize the economy, rebuild destroyed infrastructure, housing, hospitals, roads, help the victims.
U.S. President Donald Trump met with Zelensky yesterday and also spoke with Russia's Vladimir Putin. The U.S. president insists a peace deal is closer than ever. President Trump will host another world leader about a peace deal this afternoon in Florida. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to discuss moving to Phase 2 of the ceasefire agreement with the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Netanyahu is also expected to raise ongoing tension with Iran and Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Tensions are rising in the Taiwan Strait as China launches 2 days of military drills around the self-governing island. The exercises include a simulated seizure and blockade of key areas, prompting Taiwan to put its forces on high alert. You can hear more on those stories coming up on World Report at 7. An Ebb and Flow First Nation woman has been found dead. Becky McIver's body was found in a wooded area near the community yesterday. The 41-year-old was reported missing on Christmas Eve. The local fire department, community, and family all had been searching. RCMP say they do not suspect a criminal cause, but are still investigating. The Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service responded to 3 garage fires in 24 hours over the weekend. And while the blazes are still under investigation and no one was hurt, it is prompting calls from the fire service for Winnipeggers to be careful when using block or space heaters. Deputy Fire Chief Jay Shaw.
These could lead to serious injuries or the spread of the garage fire to other places like other buildings or your house.
The city recommends people inspect block heater and extension cords for frays, cracks, or damage before plugging in vehicles and getting rid of damaged ones as soon as possible. When it comes to space heaters, you're advised to keep those away from anything that can burn like furniture, curtains, or bedding. Well, Canada's juniors look to improve to 3-0 in the preliminary round of the World Championships being held in Minnesota. The Canadians are off to a 2-0 start. They face off with Denmark tonight, the same team they routed 13-2 in a pre-tournament game last week. Forward Michael Misa from Oakville, Ontario, who plays for the San Jose Sharks, says the pre-tournament game is now a distant memory.
I don't think anyone on our team should be overconfident right now. I think, they work as hard as any other team. Yeah, I mean, maybe we won 13-2 in a preliminary, but it's the real tournament now, and any team that plays us, they're going to give us their best. So, we got to do the same.
Game time tonight, Team Canada and Denmark is just after 7:30 Central. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
So I just posted, Heather, on Facebook, what were the top 3 stories of the year in Manitoba to you and why? I think the top one is probably we're all going to agree upon, but you go. I'll see if you say the same thing as me.
I would say wildfires.
Yeah, wildfires. I mean, without a doubt to me, just when you think about the impact on the province and the unprecedented nature of what we saw here and loss of life, obviously.
And so many people displaced.
So many people displaced. So that has to be number 1. And then you get into murkier water for number 2 and 3. So we'll see what listeners come up with today. Thank you, by
Thank
the way.
you.
Heather's with us throughout the morning with the news of today. But because it's the last week of the year, we're going to start asking these questions, right? So if you want to answer, what were the top 3 stories of the year in Manitoba to you and why? We'd love to have you call our listener line. I always post on Facebook. You can write there as well. If you have a day off sitting in your jammies and your coffee, go ahead. But if you want to call us, we'd love to hear from you. 788-3205. And maybe I'm being ambitious. If you just want to name, one thing in your life that you want to mention. Abby came in and asked me a fun question. I always go news serious, and Abby goes later. You asked, what did you ask me just now?
Something similar. You said Manitoba, and I was thinking of, one of the big stories that really caught my attention, like the world over. I think it's more of the cam kiss at the cold.
Oh, the cam kiss.
That was one story
Yeah.
that really caught my attention this
But
year.
you phrased it positively. So I said
Yeah.
just the top 3 stories. You said, what were the stories in Manitoba or a story in 2025?
That caught your
And you were
attention.
asking that positively, though, is what you said.
yeah.
You were like happy. What made you happy? Yeah. So you can take it positive or you can take it newsy. And news can be positive too.
I
but-
can add one to the Manitoba one and bring it very, very close to home. Since we already have the fires as number 1, I would add the transit change as number 2 on my list.
That's a really good one for Winnipeggers. Yeah. So, for in Winnipeg, probably that would be number 2 on the list. Across Manitoba, maybe not. But, well, who knows? If you travel to capital city, then you're affected by transit changes. Yeah, good ones. Yeah, we had lots of big change. Portage and Main reopening.
Portage and Main
Yeah, if we're
also.
getting into Winnipeg stuff, then we're... All right, let's go not just in the city of Winnipeg. It's time for the regional forecast. Abby's got a bunch of paper in front of him. What's up?
Yep, it's a cold one across the province, Mercy. We are really, really below sub-zero today. Looking at conditions, we're seeing light snow moving through the northern part of the province, and down south, we will see those clouds build as we get into the afternoon period. But for now, we're getting clear skies in Winnipeg. We're looking at minus 24 at this time. It's going to stay between minus 24 and minus 22 while we're on this morning during the show. But you can expect some cloudy skies and light breeze to shift to the north by the noon period, pulling our temperatures down to about minus 15 this afternoon. For the Pembina Valley region, more than Winkler, Altoona is down to the U.S. border. We're looking at temperatures around minus 21 at this time, also getting close to minus 14 later in the afternoon. Then we head west to Brandon, where we're seeing temperatures, just some clear conditions there. Minus 26 at this time, also clear. Clouds will move in later. You warm up to minus 12. For the Parkland region, Dauphin, tracking it towards Russell, minus 22 at this time. It's cloudy out there. We'll also see your temperatures get to about minus 13. There's a good chance of light snow later in the day for folks at the Parkland region. Then we track conditions towards the Interlake region. Frosty, minus 27 at this time. Those cloudy conditions will increase. You will notice some light breeze and you get to about minus 19 later. Then we cross to the part, Flin and surrounding communities. 22s, minus 23s we're seeing in that part of the province. Light snowfall in there. Highs will be around minus 17. So be careful. Those wind chill, we're seeing wind chills in the range of minus 30s already for that part of the province. Risk of frostbite is a thing. Then from Thompson towards Nelson House this morning, we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions. Also snows earlier, and that it tapered off, and we're still expecting more snow in that part of the province. You see your highs around minus 21, but currently temperatures around minus 29 there. The wind chill close to minus 36. To Dooley Lake, you're at minus 31 at this time. Light snowfall in there. You only warm up to minus 24 later, but the wind chill close to minus 40 this morning, which means frostbite in minutes for folks there. So you need to take it easy. Though we don't have any warnings yet, but it's still a concern. Then Churchill towards York, minus 27. Light snow also falling there. We'll see you just warm up to about minus 24 later, but the wind chill is hitting minus 41 already. So also frostbite in minutes. Up north, still frigid. Down south, yes, we're getting cold, and we just see temperatures warm up to about minus 16s later in the day. But Winnipeg, we are currently at minus 24, and we will be warming up to about, let's see, I'll just say minus 15 later today.
Yeah, I think we might minus 16. We might hit minus 15. Wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking.
Every degree. All right.
I'll take that. I take that one still. It warms me up.
Thanks, Abby.
You're welcome.
Okay, traffic, fine. I mean, greasy, winter, black ice, watch for stuff, but nothing major to report to you that has been developing this morning. Please report to us, though, if we're wrong, and check 511 on the highways before you head out. That number is 788-3093 is the commuter line. Well, next on the show, we were just talking about the top stories that we have on our minds for Winnipeg and Manitoba for the year that was. This year, nationally, had no shortage of big news headlines, from the trade wars and tariffs to Mark Carney's win to the AI boom. This year was filled with monumental stories and moments, in fact. This weekend, they had a special year-end edition of CBC's Cross Country Checkup, and they asked callers, what was the most important news story of 2025 to you in Canada? And also they asked, and I love this question, which one did not get enough attention? Here's what some callers shared with guest host David Common.
The Haskell Opera House, the free library, if people don't know, that's the building, the Opera House that straddles the border between Stansted and Vermont. And if you remember, January 30th, someone from the Department of Homeland Security came, and she stood on the line of the borderline, and she jumped from side to side and said on the Canadian side that we were the 51st state. And you have to imagine, in our little town, it's such a special place of peace. I was speaking with my sister, and she was talking about how when she went to her friend's house, they would ride their bikes and walk through the border and wave to the border guards. And this is pre-Trump, but there has been a horrible paradigm shift here.
My greatest concern, of course, is Arctic security. The government of Nunavut released its Arctic security policy in 2025. It is a great issue of concern given what's happening in China, what's happening in the U.S. We have, I believe, 23 of the 34 critical minerals, well, in the world, in our country. You know, that makes us very desirable. It puts us in a precarious position. We're just finalizing devolution so that we have the same prospects of all the provinces and territories with respect to how we govern ourselves. It now becomes that we are vulnerable.
So there were two things that I kind of wish I had heard more about. One, which is AI. You know, AI is really, from my perspective, just a marketing phrase. It's predictive. It's not intelligent. And I think it would be great if that was mentioned every time we were having a discussion about AI. It would help put things in perspective. Second is the amount of financing that has been sunk into this technology. And there are lots of experts who are saying that the financial fruits simply will not be born.
Some of the best news that came was during the Blue Jays run. I'm personally kind of connected to the Blue Jays because my nephew, who graduated from Lambert Park in Victoria, was drafted by the Jays in 2023, and he's been playing in the minors. He actually was a teammate of Trey Savage back in April. And what the Jays did was it gave us some excitement. If you were wearing a Blue Jays cap and you saw other people wearing the Blue Jays cap, you kind of did the little head bob, like you belong to a club. And the club was the Club of Canada and the club of the Toronto Blue Jays. And it just was really refreshing.
So those are some of the thoughts from people calling into Cross Country Checkup yesterday. The questions were, what's the most important news story of 2025? And a secondary question was, which one didn't get enough attention? I love that. If you want to weigh in on our listener line, we're looking for the Manitoba lens, though. So what to you were the top stories in Manitoba in 2025? And then, let's add on that Cross Country Checkup one. We'll just steal their question. I love it. Which story did not get enough attention in this province in 2025? So 788-3205. If you call us, we'll play your calls on the show over the next couple of days.
Do you suffer from television option-itis? Are you paralyzed by too much choice? You're not alone. 1 in 3 people spend up to 30 minutes choosing what to watch. Try one of CBC's shows, like Dragon's Den, Small Achievable Goals, and Murdoch Mysteries. Side effects may include loss of boredom. Find all your favorite shows on CBC TV or stream anytime on CBC Gem.
Cute. Well, if you do like to watch things and listen to the things and download things, and we all do, at the end of the year, we get these summaries of our usage habits. Those should be arriving in your inbox, pretty much every day, right, as we head to the end of the year at the end of this week. They come up about for every app or platform that we're on, pretty much, those usage habits. But CBC's Jason Osler next on the show finds out why and also whether it's all just too much.
Matt Dagley's always enjoyed Spotify Wrapped, the annual year-end summary of his music listening habits.
It is kind of neat to see, what band did I listen to, what artist did I listen to the most this year.
But the Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia resident says it feels like every app he uses is also sending one now.
I get so many year-end reviews, I just fly through the email and delete them.
Dagley begins listing some of them off the top of his head.
I got the PC Optimum Points 2025 moments. I think there was a LinkedIn one. Motion VFX, which is like an add-on for video editing. I got one from them. There's definitely a lot more coming out.
That includes some huge platforms offering it for the first time, like YouTube.
Check out your YouTube recap and get a personalized look back at your year on YouTube in a story-like format.
LinkedIn also launched its own year in review, saying it, quote, highlights key moments from your year on LinkedIn, including new connections, skills you built, and milestones in your professional growth, end quote. If you play Wordle, New York Times Games launched a year in review. Saturday Night Live, often a barometer of what's trending, recently had some fun with the idea of year in reviews coming for everything.
Well, now there's another way to look back at who you truly were this year. Introducing Uber Eats Wrapped.
Oh, no. It says I'm in the top 1% of nuggets.
Incredibly, just days after the sketch aired, life imitated art. Here's NBC's The Today Show.
Ever, Uber is launching Uber. It's an actual year in review for Uber and Uber Eats customers.
Oh my God. Thank you. The year in review is only available in the U.S. at the moment, and Matt Dagley hopes it never arrives here.
I don't know if I want to know if I'm the top pizza orderer in my area.
Jonathan Simon is a digital marketing expert and professor at the University of Ottawa's Telfer School of Management. He's noticed the summaries coming fast and furiously.
I was on ChatGPT and I got a year-end summary. It popped up this morning. Once Spotify proved that it worked a few years back, I think everyone knows that copying it is kind of safe and everyone's doing it.
Simon calls it marketing in disguise. That's in part because the platforms encourage you to share your end-of-year results on social media, which helps amplify brands. He says it also turns boring statistical information into a form of storytelling.
It's one thing to have data, and it's another thing to use that data to create emotional storytelling, which is something that I think brands are trying to do even more.
But Simon isn't convinced year-end reviews are always a good idea.
I don't think it suits everything. LinkedIn specifically is very risky, especially because it turns reflection into comparison.
That seems to be the case if the reactions on social media are any indicator.
Like, what could you possibly put in this that I would benefit from? How many days I spent on LinkedIn without finding a new job?
Oh my God, LinkedIn, thank you so much. How did you know I wanted to relive my unemployment era?
Enough of the end of year reviews. I just got one from LinkedIn. Enough.
Jonathan Simon cautions companies that this sort of feedback could be a sign of things to come.
I think this is a pivotal point where everyone's jumping on the bandwagon because it's cool. And next year, there will be some backlash to this.
Matt Dagley says there may already be end-of-year summary fatigue. He's noticed a decline in interest on his social media feeds, even for the generally popular Spotify Wrapped, which normally he sees a lot of.
And I noticed this year, I think I've only seen one other person other than myself share it because people just aren't as into it as they were originally.
A signal that some companies may need an end-of-year review to look at the value of the now ubiquitous end-of-year reviews. For CBC Radio, I'm Jason Osler.
There are a lot of them. I don't know. You can kind of take or leave what you want to open and what you don't. But I suppose it maybe depends how busy your inbox is. Minus 25 in Winnipeg this Monday morning. It's clear. Brandon, you're partly cloudy. It's minus 26. And in Thompson, it's also mostly cloudy and minus 28. So a cold start to the day. And a couple centimeters of snow expected up in Thompson. Winnipeg going to be minus 16 with increasing cloud. Well, as CBC reported in November, there are some developments when it comes to electric vehicles and infrastructure in this province. Manitoba Hydro says that charging stations for EVs will be installed along the highway up to Thompson. They're expected to be located in 6 different spots on Highway 6 between Winnipeg and Thompson. There's hundreds of electric vehicles charging stations already in our province, but most of them are on major highways and in southern communities. And Hydro says that 5 of these new sites are going to have chargers capable of topping up vehicles in 20 to 30 minutes. The first phase of what they're doing with that charging network north is expected to be fully operational by spring 2027. So that is all to set us up for a national conversation about where we're at with EVs in this country, and also where we're at in terms of the industry support. A lot of attention has been given to electric vehicles in recent years, but how much of the spark is left as we're heading into this new year? Greg Laotian is with us via Zoom. He's the digital and mobile editor over at Automotive News Canada, and we reached him in LaSalle, Ontario today. Hey there, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thanks for being here. So if you look at EVs overall, you heard some of the things that we're looking at still in Manitoba, which could signal progress, but also could signal how slow things are going. How would you describe the year that EVs had in 2025?
Disappointing, confusing, controversial, expensive, chaotic. Pick any of those words. They all apply. We started this year with a $5,000 federal rebate in place. We were told in January it was going to end before its March 31st deadline, and then 3 days later, it ended. It ran out of money. And Quebec rolled back its incentive program to $4,000 from $7,000. That province is a leader in EV sales. What happened? Sales tanked coast to coast to coast. If you don't have incentives, sales fall. And just to give you some perspective, in the third quarter, the latest data, EV registrations down by more than 50% in the third quarter when compared to the same quarter last year. Every month this year, after that rebate went away, essentially down 30% every single month when compared to the year before. No EV rebates, no sales, tons of confusion as we end the year. It has been a roller coaster, and it's going to continue.
So let's get into what buying an EV actually looks like right now. If you're a consumer, what's the market looking like in this country?
Lots of choice, fewer rebates. There's still about 120 EV models out there if you include battery electric and hybrid. That's a lot. That is up from, double digits of around 20 models around COVID periods of 2019 and 20. So there's choice, but they're expensive. That said, as we enter 2026, some of that choice is going away. Automakers affected by tariffs aren't importing some vehicles that are made in the United States. Volkswagen has said the ID Buzz won't be available in Canada or the United States because of slowing demand. Ford has killed the F-Series Lightning electric pickup. That was supposed to appease farmers and urban cowboys across this country. It didn't do it. It was too expensive. Ford took massive financial hits. So they're dialing back some of the offerings, but at the same time, Kia sees an opening and is going to bring us the EV4 sedan, which is going to be priced at just under $39,000. So an affordable, middle-class, second vehicle, first first-time buyer, someone for the city. So it is a bit messy and murky, but there are choices. There just isn't a lot of rebates. And there's still a huge price gap between EVs and the internal combustion engine.
What's your sense, Greg, of why people aren't going EV? Obviously, you're going to say cost, because if rebates are necessary, then cost is going to be a big deal. But are people still hesitant because they don't trust the tech, or because the infrastructure is slow, or sort of what's driving the other part of the consumer decision process?
I'm going to give you an example right from the province of Manitoba. I talked to one of the biggest dealership group CEOs in your province. What he has seen is when Manitoba enacted its EV rebate not long ago, sales in urban stores went up. So the people within towns and city centers saw an advantage of driving an EV if they could get the discount. What happened in rural Manitoba at his dealerships? The numbers stayed flat because people don't trust the charging infrastructure, don't trust the range in cold winters. And so outside of the city, EV sales in Manitoba remain flat because there's distrust in sort of the infrastructure. Within the city, when you can charge at home and you can charge at work or the mall or the library or the arena, people are taking advantage of that incentive. So where there are incentives, there are sales. Where there is no infrastructure and a lot of cold weather and huge range issues, there are no sales.
Can you tell me who the dealer was?
I'd rather not. I try to keep my sources close to my vest, but I can tell you it's one of the biggest in Manitoba.
Okay. I might get it from you just to verify off air then, but I'm grateful for the local example. What do you think the trends are going to be dominating EVs in 2026 then?
It's hybrids. A year ago, I was on shows like yours saying 2025 was going to be the year of the hybrid, and it was. I can put that in perspective for you. So in the third quarter of all new vehicle registrations in Canada, about 12.5% were hybrid vehicles. The same quarter in 2024, just 9.5%. And I see those numbers continuing to rise at the end of this year and into next year. That's for a couple reasons. People are starting to see the value and sort of the security blanket in hybrid vehicles. They allow you to drive on electricity through the city day to day, but then can get you from places like Winnipeg to Brandon on a tank of gas. And so that security is really valuable to the consumer. It allows them to try electrification for the first time as well. Automakers at the same time see people moving towards them, so they're offering more vehicles with a hybrid powertrain. So I think hybrids are the story. The secondary thing to that is watching the federal government and what it does in terms of the zero emissions vehicle sales mandate and that federal rebate. Do they both come back? And if so, how big, how much runway, and what are they worth?
Just lastly, I want to ask about the industry a little bit. So there was talk about Canada being a player in all kinds of EV, tech like batteries. And what's the forecast for the new year in that regard?
It's going to be slower than everyone anticipated. I don't think that's a shocker as demand wanes globally. It's not just in North America. It's not just in Canada. Globally, electric vehicle demand is down because there is still a huge price gap. But in terms of manufacturing, the battery plant in Windsor owned by Stellantis is forging ahead, and they are making batteries, but not on 2 or 3 shifts as they anticipated. Volkswagen is still going through with construction of its battery plant in St. Thomas. No delays there. They see a future in that. In Ontario, we've seen the provincial government try and open up the ring of fire to get the critical minerals out of that portion of the province. I will say this, Canada has the ingredients to be an EV player and EV leader in the industry. It has the minerals, it has the refinement processes in Quebec and Eastern Ontario. It has a budding supply chain, and we assemble vehicles here. There's still hope for this industry, but you had to get in now, because if you waited until electrification arrived, everyone else would be building those vehicles and maintaining the supply chain. We had to get in early as a government and as a country. We're in it. It's going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
All right. Thanks for this, Greg. Always appreciate your insight. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Thanks for having me.
That's Greg Layson with us, digital and mobile editor over at Automotive News Canada. He reached him this morning in Ontario, LaSalle, Ontario. Right now it's 3 minutes to 7 o'clock. Heather Wells is back with our local headlines from Manitoba.
Good morning. Well, a Ukrainian living in Winnipeg says she has faith the war could end next year. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced more economic aid for Ukraine after meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky over the weekend. Mila Shikota says a new round of Russian attacks show the country needs all the help it can get. We're going to hear more from her. We're also going to hear the latest on the situation coming up on World Report at 7. The Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service responded to 3 garage fires in 24 hours over the weekend. While the blazes are under investigation and no one was hurt, it is prompting calls from the fire service for Winnipeggers to be careful when using block or space heaters. Details on that as well in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Check 511 before you head out on those highways, and note some black ice and slippery conditions within the city of Winnipeg if you're walking, riding, or rolling. 788-3093 if you want to call us on that commuter line. It is in Winnipeg right now, minus 25. Our highs minus 16. We're going to have increasing cloud in this forecast for the rest of your Monday. Well, in the next hour of Information Radio, we have a faith column for you today. A bill before the Manitoba legislature would see December branded as Christian Heritage Month. But not all Christians see that as a good thing. Our faith contributor will dig into the diversity of perspective. Also, imagine doing a yoga pose in the new year. That's happening at a Winnipeg yoga studio, and they're ringing it in without alcohol. We'll find out about a special event happening. And Manitoba is lowering the eligible age for breast cancer screening, so any Manitoban 45 and older will be able to book an appointment in the new year. We're going to talk more about those changes coming up in the next hour of Information Radio. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at the show, and stay with us because World Report's coming up next at 7.
Celebrate New Year's Eve with CBC.
The party is just getting started here.
Cue the fireworks.
We are going live on New Year's Eve.
Taking the party nationwide.
Ringing in each new year one by one.
That's 6 different countdowns.
With surprise guests and familiar faces.
Let's make this New Year's a night for the ages.
Your countdown begins right here.
Live Cross Canada Countdown. Watch free on CBC Gem or wherever you stream CBC.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Sam Sampson in Edmonton. U.S. President Donald Trump says a peace deal to end the war in Ukraine is a lot closer after meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Florida. The Kremlin agreed with Trump's assessment, with spokesperson Dmitry Peskov saying the talks are in their final stage. Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke by phone ahead of the Florida meeting, and another call is planned soon. Steve Futterman reports.
It was the latest attempt to make real progress towards a peace settlement. Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky got together at Trump's Florida estate in Mar-a-Lago. For around 2.5 hours, the two leaders and their advisors met to discuss the latest proposal, a 20-point peace plan. When it was over, Trump used a phrase he has used many times before.
I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close.
Zelensky was also sounding positive.
We had a really great discussions on all the topics, and we appreciate the progress that was made by American and Ukrainian teams.
The 20-point plan includes two key proposals: the establishment of a demilitarized zone in eastern Ukraine and an international peacekeeping force to monitor the area. Even if the U.S. and Ukraine agree to that, there is still a big missing link: Vladimir Putin. Russia still needs to sign on, and there is no indication right now that Putin is agreeable. During last year's presidential campaign, Trump suggested he would end the Russia-Ukraine war in one day.
I will get it solved in rapid order, and it will take me no longer than one day.
It's now been more than 340 days. Trump did speak with Putin by phone yesterday, but the war goes on. Steve Futterman, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is not the only world leader meeting with the U.S. president this week. Today, Trump will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his Mar-a-Lago resort. The meeting comes as Israel faces regional tensions following attacks in Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria. Blake Sifton is tracking this story from Tel Aviv. Blake, what's at the top of the agenda for today's meeting?
When he meets Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Trump is expected to push for progress toward phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan. The body of one hostage remains in Gaza, and Israel has said previously that they won't go forward with phase 2 until his body is returned. But Netanyahu is coming under increasing pressure to move forward with the process. There are also reports that many officials in the Trump administration are growing frustrated with Netanyahu, believing that he's trying to stall the peace process. Now, phase 2 is supposed to see a transitional government of Palestinian technocrats govern Gaza and be overseen by an international body that's being called the Board of Peace. And an international stabilization force is meant to enter Gaza and disarm Hamas as Israeli forces withdraw from Gaza. But many serious obstacles need to be overcome. We still don't know which leaders will join the Board of Peace. No countries have publicly agreed to contribute troops to the force, and Hamas has flatly refused to fully disarm.
But the Gaza ceasefire is not all that will be discussed. What else is on the table?
Netanyahu is also expected to discuss Israeli concerns that Iran is rebuilding and possibly expanding its supply of ballistic missiles after the 12-day war with Israel in June. Some 50 ballistic missiles evaded Israeli air defenses during that war and caused widespread damage. And there are reports that Netanyahu may go as far as presenting President Trump today with plans for a renewed military campaign against Iran. And the two leaders are also expected to discuss Lebanon, where fears are growing that Israel will return to war against Hezbollah if the group is not disarmed by the Lebanese military by the end of this year.
Blake Sifton tracking this from Tel Aviv. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been nearly a year since many U.S. alcohol brands were pulled from Canadian liquor store shelves. It's a move tied to the Trump administration's trade dispute with Canada. Some Canadian distillers say sales have gone up, but others say they've seen little benefit. Now, American producers are pushing to get their products back into the Canadian market. Michelle Allen has more.
Toronto distillery owner Chris Jack says it's been a tumultuous few years for the spirits industry. After the province pulled U.S. liquor off the shelves, he had hoped more consumers would buy Canadian. But
personally, I've seen a small increase, but it's not massive.
American distilleries are taking a hit. They say exports to Canada have decreased as much as 85%. A trade group representing liquor producers submitted a complaint to the U.S. government, accusing Canadian retailers of favoring local alcohol over booze from south of the border, which it says isn't fair. Some provinces have recorded an increase in demand for Canadian products. Year-end numbers from Ontario's Liquor Board show a 20% increase in local products, but Jack says many Canadian distilleries aren't seeing much extra sales, particularly small local ones like his.
There hasn't been a huge push to bring awareness to new products or really focus on replacing the American products or the space left by the American products being removed with Canadian-made products.
Experts say Canadian distillers are also up against shifting consumer trends, like younger people drinking less alcohol and the high cost of living. Ian Lee is an associate business professor at Carleton University.
They're experiencing these very significant price increases in the food prices, so they're just saying, oh, I'm just not going to buy it right now. I'll do without.
Only Alberta and Saskatchewan have lifted their ban on American booze. It's not clear when or if Ontario will do the same. Michelle Allen, CBC News, Toronto.
This new year, Canadians are lacing up their running shoes. The sport is booming, led by Gen Z. Paula Duhachuk explains why run clubs are having a moment.
All right, everybody, how we feeling tonight? In the parking lot of a Calgary brewery, hundreds of 20 and 30-somethings have gathered to go for a run together.
You know, I think there's been a little bit of a running boom since COVID.
The founder of YYC Run Crew, Rafael Lopez, says many of the club's new members are also new in town. The Alberta bank ATB Financial says in recent years, the province has seen a massive surge in young people moving here from other parts of the country. Millennials and Gen Zs searching for new friends using run clubs to try and find them.
I think because people are just so tired of just being isolated from other people.
After COVID, I was working from home. I kind of didn't have a social group.
But I know that running has become like the next dating platform.
Even without a population boom, a similar trend is unfolding elsewhere in the country. Ottawa race organizer Somersault says it's seen about a 300% increase in registration since before the pandemic. It says runners are also getting younger.
As I grew up, at that time it was very fun, and something to envy was to go and get drunk.
But Gen Z expert Michelle Nguyen says that's not cool anymore. Young people are less interested in nightclubs, more interested in run clubs.
Particularly because they're able to invite their friends but still kind of lean into health and wellness.
And while many people pledge to get healthy at this time of year, Nguyen says the Gen Z interest in health and wellness isn't just a passing fad, but a defining part of the generation. Paula Duhachuk, CBC News, Calgary.
And you can hear more on why running is having such a moment in Paula's CBC radio special, The Running Revival. It airs January 2nd at 5 p.m., 5:30 in Newfoundland. Well, former Ontario NDP MP Charlie Angus is rethinking retirement. After nearly 21 years in Parliament, he did not seek re-election last spring, and he planned to write a book. But that plan changed after Donald Trump won the U.S. election. The CBC's Elizabeth Thompson caught up with Angus as he prepared to hit the road and the stage with his band.
I've been everywhere, man, I've been everywhere.
Over the past 8 months, Charlie Angus has indeed been everywhere, from Rustico, Prince Edward Island to BC's Sunshine Coast, and everywhere in between. Last year, Angus decided not to run again as MP for his Northern Ontario riding. He wanted a break from politics to work on a book. Then Donald Trump got elected.
We're facing the threat to democracy. International institutions are stressed in a way they've never been before. We're facing a threat to our border, which is very real.
Angus has been speaking at town halls across the country, urging Canadians to stand up to Trump. He's also returned to his musical roots, playing gigs with his band, the Grievous Angels.
Well, I'm having a blast. I love this country. I love traveling. I love going into these communities.
Along the way, he's also developed a following on social media. His website has 71,000 followers. In September, he teamed up with popular U.S. news site Midas Touch. His Midas Canada YouTube channel has more than 208,000 subscribers. Angus says people stop him in the street, thanking him for standing up for Canada. Some have also asked him to run for the NDP leadership.
Oh, I hear that all the time. Ain't happening. Playing with the band.
Angus says he's not ready to change his tune. So for now, he'll keep fighting Donald Trump and taking that message across Canada. Elizabeth Thompson, CBC News, Ottawa.
That's the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Sam Sampson. This is CBC News.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a Monday that a lot of folks have off. And if you don't, you should hopefully have a quieter commute to work. There's your bright side. Thanks for joining us. We're live in downtown Winnipeg. And we are the team at Information Radio here at CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for being here on 89.3. Cold in Winnipeg this morning, minus 25 is your current temperature. This hour on the program, Manitoba could recognize December as Christian Heritage Month. That's if a bill before the legislature passes. Our faith contributor has spoken to Christian leaders across the province. Not all of them are behind this bill. We'll get into the diversity of opinion in a moment. Also, on New Year's Eve, some folks will trade Moscow mules for downward dogs. We're going to hear what a Winnipeg yoga studio is doing for a sober New Year. And at 10 to 8 this morning, Manitoba is lowering the eligible age for breast cancer screening. So any Manitoban 45 and older will be able to book an appointment in the new year. More on that change coming up. First, though, here's headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, a Manitoba man says he is frustrated even as the province says progress is being made expanding spinal care capacity. Data provided to CBC News suggests the province has seen about 15% more spinal surgeries in 2024 and 25 compared to 2023. Rob Doig, though, says he still feels left in the lurch. We'll hear more of his story. And did you feel it? Almost a dozen train cars derailed near Jubilee Station yesterday. CN Rail says no one was hurt, but Dave Neufeld lives in a nearby condo building and says that building shook from the impact. Those stories and more in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
You can find more on our website anytime as well at cbc.ca/Manitoba, including some photos of those cars as they were, as Heather mentioned, shaken off the track. Let's get into what's happening in the forecast. You might be shaking because it's cold. Abby.
Yeah, Marcy, I'll tell you, it's a cold and steady winter morning across the regions this morning with quiet conditions, but mostly cloudy skies in the southern part of the province. And then up north, we're seeing more like those light snow falling at this time. Winnipeg, we're starting with clear skies, chilly minus 25 at this time. We can expect mainly cloudy conditions as the day goes on. And then we'll see some light breeze that will shift to the north, pushing our temperatures to about minus 15 by the afternoon period. Some clouds will roll in the evening and temperatures will get to about minus 18. Across the southern regions, we should see sunshine to start the day, and then some clouds will roll in. Current temperatures in most of the regions sitting between minus 21 and minus 26 at this time, and highs would be around minus 12 to minus 19, depending on where you minus 12 and minus 19, depending on where you are in the south. But further north, we're looking at ice, light snow and ice crystal in Churchill at this time. That's the main story for that part of the province. Though it's frigid up there with temperatures around near minus 30s in some areas, and the wind chill close to minus 41.
You'll appreciate this. So we have family in from California, and one of my cousin's partners is like born raised in California. So last year when they were here, we sort of had a milder condition, and we were like, "Oh, you're not really experiencing winter." This year, they flew in the day after the blizzard.
Oh.
And the reaction, right? The difference in sort of experiencing that real Manitoba. So it's so funny. It was so silly. We were all very Manitoba. We were so proud. We were like, what do you think? What was it like for you? Like all like, glomming onto this person and asking them. But yeah, I think that I wouldn't have wanted to fly on that day either. Never mind if you're not used to it, right?
True. I know there's a new family that just settled in Winnipeg, and he was thinking, oh, the drive is beautiful so far, and then enters the blizzard and he goes, I don't know if I want to drive again in this city.
I know.
A new phobia for him.
I know. Well, hopefully he'll come on the other side of that, but we certainly had some sketch days. So even though it's going to be frigid this morning, you can appreciate a calm drive.
It's calm today.
I was just checking Traffic Management Center, speaking of which. So your commute so far is pretty good. We've been mentioning it's slick because they're out there cleaning, watch for crews. But other than that, nothing major. 788-3093 with updates. Well, should the province of Manitoba have a Christian Heritage Month? Earlier this month, Morden Winkler Progressive Conservative MLA Carrie Hewart introduced a private member's bill to establish the month of December as Christian Heritage Month, as a way to acknowledge and celebrate Manitoba's diverse, multicultural Christian community. But is such a month needed? Here to talk about that is our faith columnist, John Longhurst. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
So how did the idea, if we just step back for a second, of a Christian Heritage Month actually come about?
Well, the idea came about as a brainchild of an evangelical Christian couple from Toronto by the names of Molly and Jay Banerjee. In late December 2023, they both felt moved by the Holy Spirit, they said, to start such a month. They felt that Canada needed a month celebrating Christians and Christianity, just as it already had a month celebrating Sikh, Jewish, and Muslim heritages. So to get the word out, they sent out emails to politicians and churches across the country, and they launched a social media campaign across the country as well, including one that was an appeal expressly to Manitobans, asking them to support the idea of a Christian Heritage Month. And as for why they want such a month, well, they have at least two reasons. One is they want to acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of Christianity to the country and to Manitoba. But secondly, they feel that Canada is becoming too secular and that religion, and in particular Christianity, is being pushed to the margins, pushed out of the conversation, and ignored by society. And they want to push back against that. And here's the thing, they've had some success. To date, over 50 towns and cities across this country have declared December as Christian Heritage Month. And that includes Toronto, Calgary, Ottawa, Saskatoon, Kingston, and Nanaimo. But no community in Manitoba has done it yet. They also helped convince one province to do it. Saskatchewan declared December Christian Heritage Month. And if Manitoba does it, that will make number 2. They would also like to see it happen on a national level. But currently there are no bills or motions in Parliament to that effect, although the Conservative Party of Canada has a petition on its website about it.
You spoke actually to Carrie Hebert, who's behind the bill to have December declared Christian Heritage Month here in Manitoba, picking up on the Banerjees. What is motivating her?
Well, when I spoke to her, she said it's because she is a Christian, and also because she feels it's important to acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of Christianity to the province of Manitoba. She said she's also doing it because she heard from constituents that it was a good idea. Hebert noted that over half of Manitobans identify as Christians and that many of them donate significant time and money to charitable causes that support vulnerable and needy people in the province. And she also pointed to the significant role Christians and Christianity have played historically in the province, and that includes health care. She noted that 4 of Winnipeg's hospitals, the Grace, St. Boniface, Concordia, and Misericordia, all have Christian roots. And then there are all the charities that Christians run that support and help people in the province, including things like the Salvation Army and Siloam Mission and many others that support homeless people in this province.
Why was the month of December chosen?
Well, part of that seems obvious because
Yes.
it's Christmas, right? And that's a major Christian holiday, but it actually wouldn't be the best choice if you were to follow the Christian calendar and Christian history, which is something the Banerjees acknowledge. Easter is actually a much more important celebration in the Christian calendar. And that's a problem for something like a Christian Heritage Month because Easter floats between March and April, so you can't declare a Christian Heritage Month.
Yeah.
And also, April is already Sikh Heritage Month. So December it is.
How are local Christian leaders responding to Carrie Hebert's proposed bill here in our province?
So I reached out to a few, and some are in favor and some are opposed. So Mark Hughes, who is pastor of the Evangelical Church of the Rock, he thinks it's a great idea. He thinks it will help counter what he sees as an anti-religious narrative that is currently dominating our country and culture. I spoke with Gerald Michalski. He's the lead pastor at Soul Sanctuary, which is another evangelical congregation, and he ran it past his church council, and he thinks that the idea has merit, but he has a caution. For him, he said, Christian identity shouldn't be anchored in public approval, cultural trends, or political favor. Rather, he said, it should be rooted in Christ alone. Other church leaders, well, they view it differently. I talked to Rocky Baronins. He's the high counselor for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And speaking personally, He noted that Christianity already is the largest religion in the province, and it's been dominant for so long. And as a result, he doesn't think it's necessary to have a Christian Heritage Month. He also pointed out that for some people in the province, especially Indigenous people, Christianity was not such good news, and that is something that he thinks we need to reckon with as well. In fact, he said, until we fully reckon with that history, we shouldn't be setting aside a month to recognize Christian heritage. And then when Michael Wilson, who's the minister of Charleswood United Church, heard about the proposal, one of his first questions was, well, which Christian heritage will we be celebrating? There are many different denominations in Manitoba and many different ways of expressing Christian faith. So he wondered which one would then be celebrated in a Christian Heritage Month. And then finally, Jason Zinko is the local bishop for the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Canada. He worries that setting aside a Christian Heritage Month might more completely make some more minority religious groups feel marginalized. And he also noted that December is a significant month for other groups too. So for Jews, Hanukkah often happens in December. People from Africa celebrate Kwanzaa, and the Buddhists have Bodhi Day in December. So why should Christians be able to claim that month?
Interesting to hear the diversity of opinion in our community. What are your thoughts about it before you go?
I actually don't have strong feelings one way or the other. On the one hand, I think, well, why not? Other groups have it, so why couldn't Christians too? What difference would it make if it had it as well? And Christianity has made many positive contributions to the country and the province. And yet at the same time, I understand those who don't support it. Christianity has dominated Canada for so long. It's such a major religion and such a major force. It has shaped our life in Canada and our laws and our culture, and it's still shaping those things. So, for example, two of our major national holidays, which everybody gets in this country, are Good Friday and Christmas, and they are both Christian. So do we need more than that? But ultimately, what happens is going to be up to the politicians and individual voters as well, because they can make their opinions known to their representatives. The bill is expected to come up for a vote in spring, and after that, then we'll see.
And we'll have to ask the listeners as well to weigh in. Thanks for being here.
You bet. Thank you.
If you're listening, and if you want to weigh in on the topic, do you think that December in Manitoba should be designated and recognized Christian Heritage Month? Why or why not? 204-788-3205. That is our listener line. And we've just been in conversation there with John Longhurst, who is CBC Manitoba's faith contributor.
Celebrate New Year's Eve with CBC.
The party is just getting started here.
Cue the fireworks.
We are going live on New Year's Eve.
Taking the party nationwide.
Bringing in each new year one by one.
That's 6 different countdowns.
With surprise guests and familiar faces.
Let's make this New Year's a night for the ages.
Your countdown begins right here.
Live Cross Canada Countdown. Watch free on CBC Gem or wherever you stream CBC.
7:24 a.m. is the time right now on 89.3. Hopefully you had a nice break if you were able to be off at all. Maybe you're off this week. I know obviously kids across Manitoba, students are all still off for the break. We do have New Year's coming up this week. Chloe Friesen is going to be repping Manitoba when it comes to that CBC party. So she's going to be out and about live and reporting into live broadcasts throughout the night and into the first day of the brand new year. So that, of course, is Wednesday, New Year's Eve, into Thursday. So if you want to check out the special on CBC, it should be lots of fun. It is, as mentioned, a chilly morning in Winnipeg. It's -25. We are headed to -16, though. And in a moment, we'll give you a roundup of morning sports. Not a lot of great news in Jets hockey for sure over the weekend, but another game coming up tonight. So we'll give you that roundup coming up momentarily. Right now, though, a little bit of music as we do reach the end of the year, and we were just talking about lists. So one of the things that I actually do love is when they put out the list of the best music, because often I'm like, with so much choice, where do you even begin? So it's been a great year for Canadian artists. This next artist released a new album in 2025. This is singer-songwriter Goldie Boutillier, and this actually did make, I just want to scroll up here, this made one of the year's best lists by our colleagues over at CBC Music. Marshall's like, can I roll it yet? Here it comes. Teamwork. This is Goldie Boutillier.
Cause you know I love Elvis. We were broken romantic, yes we were. Cut off t-shirt and tuxedo pants, honky tonk for a slow dance. You were everything I didn't know I needed. We're both animals no one could tame. You were on the run, so you took my last name. There's no stars in the sky, they're all in our eyes, neon nuptials. The whole world feels right when you're by my side. Neon nuptials. My heart is beating like a panther. Ask again, cause the answer I give will always be I do. And all the wedding bells save me from myself. And I know they did the same for you. We're both animals no one could tame. You were on the run, so you took my last name. There's no stars in the sky, they're all in our eyes, neon nuptials. The whole world feels right when you're by my side. Neon
Goldie Boutillier, Neon Nuptials. That is on the list of CBC Music's list of the year's best. Love that. Hails from Cape Breton and probably going to face the life of being compared to Stevie Nicks. I don't know if you heard that in her voice. I certainly did myself. It is coming up to 7:30 here and news time locally on CBC Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us this Monday morning. Well, we do not have sports this morning. We don't have a sports reporter in. I'll just encourage you to go to cbc.ca/sports for the very latest. And when it comes to local teams and teams we're watching, I think everybody across the country has been watching World Juniors if you are a hockey fan. Canada over the weekend terrified everybody because they almost lost again against Latvia, which was seen as a strange thing last year in the tournament. We lost in overtime and they were winning the game and then all of a sudden it tied up. They did go to overtime. This time they won. So Latvia on a power play 44 seconds into overtime, Canada got it done. They picked up that victory. Canada's next game at the World Junior Hockey Tournament is tonight against Denmark, and then they will wrap up Group B play on New Year's Eve where they face Finland. For the Jets, the Oilers are in town tonight facing the Jets. And man, there's not a lot to say. People are just waiting for the Jets to click into gear and get some wins. Maybe tonight. Didn't happen over the weekend either. They also pushed the game to overtime against Minnesota, but ultimately they lost to the Wild in OT. So maybe you can check out the game tonight. Maybe you're rather going to the game tonight. Maybe you have tickets. Always a fun time, but hopefully the Jets are going to get in the win column soon. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Well, coming up in the next half hour of the show, it is seen as a win for people who who are worried about breast cancer screening. Manitoba is lowering the eligible age for that screening to 45, and it in the future will be lowered to 40. We're going to hear more about that. This is a change announced by the province previously. Right now, though, your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, you're definitely feeling winter when you step outside. We're at minus 25 right now. We're going to see clouds move in throughout the morning. A high today of minus 16 with a risk of frostbite. Progress to end spinal care capacity, to expand spinal care capacity in Manitoba, isn't happening quickly enough for some. Data provided to CBC News suggests the province has seen about 15% more spinal surgeries in 2024 and 2025 compared to 2023. Rob Doig has lived with debilitating neurospinal issues since an injury in 2016. Manitoba Health denied a request by Doig's surgeon to send him to Minneapolis for care. The 48-year-old says he feels left in the lurch.
It really becomes frustrating because as the patient, and as somebody that's living this who is affected in working, social life, mental and cognitive issues, it really piles on. And I really had to fight Manitoba Health.
Health Minister Uzoma Eseguera says the province's focus is to deliver care locally. A train derailment near Jubilee Station had crews clearing the tracks well into yesterday afternoon. CN Rail says 8 cars flipped over on their side, one upright. David Neufeld lives nearby in the Lord Roberts area and heard it happen early in the morning.
I was woken by both the sound of a crash and our building actually vibrated, like shook.
CN says no dangerous goods, fires, or leaks were reported. No one was hurt. The cause of that derailment is under investigation. A woman from Ebb and Flow First Nation has been found dead. Becky McIver's body was found in a wooded area near the community yesterday. The 41-year-old was reported missing on Christmas Eve. The local fire department, community, and family had all been searching. RCMP say they do not suspect a criminal cause, but are investigating. A Ukrainian woman living in Winnipeg says she will always be grateful for Canada's support. Over the weekend, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced $2.5 billion in new economic aid for Ukraine. Mila Shikota says Canada has been a strong ally, and years after Russia's invasion, she still hopes for peace.
I write my plans and dreams on a small piece of paper, and after the year, I open this piece of paper and I see if it became true or not. Each year, I write so that we will be able to gather all our family to go to Ukraine.
U.S. President Donald Trump says a peace deal is closer than ever. Now, President Trump will host another world leader about a peace deal this afternoon in Florida. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to discuss moving to phase 2 of the ceasefire agreement with the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Netanyahu is also expected to raise ongoing tension with Iran and Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. China's military is sending air, navy, rocket troops to conduct joint military drills around the island of Taiwan. Chinese military spokesman Shi Yi announced those drills. He says it is a stern warning against Taiwan's separatist forces and outside interference. He calls it a legitimate and necessary action to safeguard China's sovereignty. Now, Taiwan is a self-governing island, but China considers it part of its territory. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. The Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service responded to 3 garage fires in 24 hours over the weekend. And while the blazes are under investigation, no one was hurt. It is still prompting calls from the fire service for Winnipeggers to be careful when using block or space heaters. Deputy Fire Chief Jay Shaw.
These could lead to serious injuries or the spread of the garage fire to other places like other buildings or your house.
The city recommends people inspect block heaters and extension cords for frays, cracks, or damage before plugging in vehicles and getting rid of damaged cords as soon as possible. When it comes to space heaters, you're advised to keep those away from anything that can burn, like furniture, curtains, or bedding. Well, Canada is back on the ice today as it plays its third game at the World Junior Championships in Minnesota. Canada facing Denmark. They beat Denmark handily 13-2 in a pre-tournament game. But defenseman Kayshawn Atchison, a Toronto native who plays for the Barrie Colts of the Ontario Hockey League, says that result won't impact Canada's approach tonight.
We kind of just don't even think about that and we just move forward. Obviously, you can beat a team 20-0 if you lose in the preliminary games. What does that matter? So we take every game like it's our last, and we know that every game is just as important as another. So
puck drop in Minnesota. Canada against Denmark is 7:30 Central tonight. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, I posted on Facebook what were the top 3 stories of the year in Manitoba to you and why. You can, of course, also call the show if you're listening, 204-788-3205. Janessa Naylor-Giesbrick wrote in, the top story to me was the successful search of the Prairie Green landfill for Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron. After all the politicized discourse during the election, it was powerful to have the search done and yield results so quickly. The search would have been, quote, worth it no matter what, but for the family's peace and the public's witness, it was so significant to have it succeed so quickly. I think this story is particularly a testament to the voices of Indigenous women who have made this happen, and I hope we see a day when they don't have to use their voices for this kind of work. So, Janessa, thanks for writing in this morning. If you want to weigh in, if you're listening, what to you were the top 3 stories of the year in Manitoba? I'm probably being ambitious there, so I should just say to you what was the top maybe, and why. So please let us know. They're also asking, they've posed this really in a great way on Cross Country Checkup. What was missed? What didn't make the news as top stories this year that you think should have been covered? Also a great question. So you can weigh in as we tick through the last few days of the year here at 788-3205. Well, let's see what the weather's going to be like to round out 2025. Abby is here to start with our Monday, which, as Heather mentioned at the top of the news, is really cold this morning.
Yeah,
Abby.
that change, I'm still trying to get used to the change from those minus 10s we get and now minus 25. Winnipeg at minus 25 right now, clear outside. Temperature is going to sit between minus 24 and minus 22 for the city today, though it's going to fall to minus 15 by the afternoon period. We'll see light breeze shift to the north and then mainly cloudy conditions overnight. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region, sitting at minus 21 at this time, Brandon at minus 24, Dauphin is sitting at minus 20, and Gimli sitting at minus 26 at this time. Most of those regions warming up close to minus 19 later, while up north, minus 22 around the Power. We're seeing light snow falling there, and for Thompson, we're looking at minus 28. To Dooley Lake, we're looking at minus 30 there. And Churchill, we're seeing minus 26 with ice crystals. But the wind chill is a concern up north. It feels like minus 41 up there. So frostbite in minutes. So it's frigid up. We're going to see some sunshine in the south, and we'll see around minus 16s to minus 19s later.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
On the commute this morning, probably black ice around Winnipeg here or there. When they scrape it off, of course, then the Sanders come behind. So it could be a little bit slick. Otherwise, so you shouldn't have any major problems, just the regular winter driving things. Go slowly if you're creeping out, looking behind the snowbanks and such. You're already halfway into traffic. And also, if you're walking, take it easy. If you want to give us an update on the highways, we haven't spotted anything crazy so far as we're looking at the maps. I mean, regular conditions, wintry, partly covered in spots. But if you do see any problems in your city, Winnipeg, Brandon, Thompson, wherever you are in Manitoba, or out in the highways, you can always call our commuter line at 788-3093. Well, interestingly enough, there's been a story on World Report this morning about how Gen Z isn't interested in drinking like other generations were and how that's changing New Year's plans. Let's talk about something locally that doesn't involve alcohol. Rogue Vinyasa Yoga is hosting a class that starts at 11 p.m. on December 31st to ring in the new year. It ends at midnight. They will also pop some champagne that will be alcohol-free. Jessica Ryan is co-founder of Rogue Vinyasa Yoga and is in studio with us live. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. So tell me a little bit about your choice, the idea for this class.
Sure. So Rogue Vinyasa is very community forward. So we like to do yoga, obviously. We like to move together, but we like to find fun and unique ways as we can bring the community together and just be seen and make new friends or see old ones.
And why alcohol free?
Alcohol-free, especially in the yoga sphere. I mean, we're working really hard to not only connect to our bodies, but to our breath and to our mind, and then kind of realizing that we're more than all of that. And alcohol, I know for me in the past, I've kind of used that as a distraction or a disassociation kind of tool. So we felt it was really important that we're doing all this good work to be connected and be conscious, that we chose an alcohol-free option.
You heard me talking about the story that's in our national news this morning. You know, that trend of Gen Z was the focus of their story, and they were looking at how attitudes have shifted around alcohol. I kind of felt you nodding when I was talking about it. Is that something that you feel when you talk to your clients and those in your yoga community?
I would say not only just that generation. I think it's kind of, they've given the permission for everybody to maybe accept that there's other choices and it doesn't always have to be that way, which I think is a really, really lovely shift.
Yeah. How many people have signed up so far for your New Year's event?
We're about halfway full. So we've got about 12, 13 spots left. We're hoping to fill the room, which is 32 people.
Got it.
Yeah.
Has there been a change in the yoga community's relationship with alcohol over the years? Or is it this, or does it mirror what we're talking about?
I think the yoga community at large is so diverse. I mean, my youngest member is 9 years old. My oldest is a mid-70s. So like all genders, all ages, all abilities. So it's hard to really pinpoint that like, okay, we're an alcohol-free community.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's a little bit of everything, but we felt important about, I mean, having that as the option.
How'd you get involved with yoga? How did this become an important part of your life?
I was playing sports when I was younger, and there was kind of this, as you got older, it was harder to find accessible group sports, and yoga was something that I found that was like kept me moving, kept me kind of mobile, and it scratched that itch of sports, if you will, even though it's super individual. So I found it when I was pretty young, just pretty much out of high school, and I've been hooked ever since.
What difference do you see it making on people's lives?
I think it can make a huge difference on people's lives. Even if we just think of the physical, I mean, I want to be able to tie my shoes when I'm 80. I want to be able to walk around when I'm 90. I think we see falls as we get older as kind of like a devastating blow to what you can do in life. And I think yoga really helps that physical aspect. And then we can dive into the mental and the stress release and the emotional regulation and the nervous system regulation and even something like connected to something bigger than you, the spiritual of it all. I think there's numerous benefits of the yoga.
What's it like for you when you're instructing now and you watch people discover that, and maybe they're new to yoga and they kind of think, I'm just coming here to stretch, and then maybe they discover this?
Totally. And that was me too. I came for the physical, and then obviously like the benefits sink in and you notice it. That's my favorite thing about being an instructor though, is finding people get that aha moment, whether it's trying something that they never thought they could do or them telling me stories of their life outside of the yoga room, that it's really like permeated and affected them in a lovely but big way.
In terms of if someone's listening and they've never done yoga, obviously yoga is not new. It's as old as it gets. But I do wonder whether or not people who've never tried it might be wondering, well, I've never done it because I'm not flexible. Like you know what I mean? What are the barriers? Yeah. What would you say to people who might think maybe this is a year for me to get into that kind of movement, but I fear that I won't have that ability?
That's a really great question. And it's funny how often I hear like, I can't do it, I'm not flexible. And while one of the yoga, let's say tropes or memes you'll see out there is like, yoga's not about touching your toes. It's like learning on the way down, like all the things you can learn on the way down to that goal, let's say. So you don't have to be flexible. You don't have to have any yoga experience. You really just have to be you and show up. And a willingness to learn or a bit of curiosity is maybe the only thing you need to show up with.
So you said at the beginning that for your event on New Year's Eve, it's about half full. So how many more people can you take?
I can take about 12 more friends.
Okay. And if someone's interested, where should they find more information?
You can find it on our website. So roguevinyasa.com, or if you're an Instagrammer at Rogue Vinyasa, there's going to be details on there. You can sign up through our website.
All right. Thanks for coming in and making effort to come down to CBC, Jessica.
Thank
Appreciate
you so much
Happy
for
New
having
Year.
me. Happy New Year.
That's Jessica Ryan, the co-founder of Rogue Vinyasa Yoga. As mentioned, there's 12 more spots for, she put it, new friends. If you want to ring in the new year in an interesting way. And of course, New Year's coming up on Wednesday, but you can check them out on their socials.
Celebrate New Year's Eve with CBC.
The party is just getting started here.
Cue the fireworks.
We are are going live on New Year's Eve,
taking the party nationwide.
bringing in each new year one by one.
That's 6 different countdowns.
With surprise guests and familiar faces.
Let's make this New Year's a night for the ages.
Your countdown begins right here.
Live Cross Canada Countdown. Watch free on CBC Gem or wherever you stream CBC. Festive season, there's one place to be with your holiday favorites on CBC. Whether you're a Grinch,
hate, double hate,
or full of cheer.
Nobody's walking out on this fun old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together.
The season's best are waiting right here.
The bell still rings for me, as it does for all who truly believe.
For holiday joy from start to end. Watch free on CBC and CBC Gem.
Still ahead in this half hour on Information Radio on CBC, we're going to talk about Manitoba's breast screening cancer guidelines for the age you should be checked. The age is being lowered, but still some are saying that it is not low enough. There's still some challenges, and also challenges with understanding things like the density of your breast tissue and why that is important when it comes to screening for breast cancer. So we're going to have that discussion still ahead this half hour. Stay with us. It is minus 25, as we've been mentioning, in Winnipeg. Pretty similar in Brandon, minus 24, and up in Thompson, it's minus 28. And just having a quick look at those current conditions, it's snowing in the Paw and up into Dooley as well, Lynn Lake, and all the way through with ice crystals up in Churchill. Next to the show, a little bit of music. Not sure how you're doing this Monday or how your holidays have been so far, but there's a bit of a tune we want to play that might help you if you find yourself thinking about the new year and wanting to head in with a new attitude. This is the week, I think, where a lot of folks kind of have the holiday rumble behind us, no matter what holiday you're celebrating, and it's this transition period into a brand new year. So this tune is about self-confidence. Here's singer-songwriter Carson Gray.
It's a hard sight to see you in low light. You're beautifully right, and you still shine. Take your mind out of the places where it gets dark. Just know that you're worth it, and that you are a spark. Loud love grows. Just know that you're different, and that you're not alone. Cold edge, only one line in your sketch. The darkness builds your depth. The strength that you gain will leave you blessed. Slow down, drawing a deep breath. The clouds are always lined. Soon they will part and you will feel the shine. Wherever you go will be your home. Brace yourself, change isn't easy for anyone. Loud love grows. Just know that you're different, and that you're not alone. Loud love grows. Just know that you're different, and that you're not alone.
Carson Gray and Loud Love on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Well, we've got a fun story coming up for you after 8 o'clock. She is putting Winnipeg on Canada's national culinary map. We're going to meet Chef Emily Butcher, owner and executive chef over at NOLA in St. B, as she's preparing to compete in the 2026 Canadian Culinary Championship in Ottawa. So stay tuned. We're going to talk a little food coming up after 8. Right now, though, Manitoba's breast cancer screening age is changing. If you're 45 years old or older, you can begin to book an appointment starting January 2nd, 2026, next year. The province says they are still working to reduce that screening age even lower to 40 by the end of 2026. The previous age, you might recall, was 50. The provincial government says that this latest change follows recommendations from advocates, including a group called Dense Breasts Canada. Jenny Dale is the founder and executive director of that group, and she joins us this morning over Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what are your
thoughts? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us, Jenny. So what are your thoughts on the Manitoba changes for 2026? First 45 for screening and then lowering it to 40.
Well, it is great news. We're thrilled to hear it. It's great news not just for women, but for their families, as well as for reducing the burden on the healthcare system, because cancer doesn't wait till 50. And cancer in the 40s can be extremely aggressive. And 1 in 6 women are going to likely get cancer in their 40s. And so catching cancer early is what it's all about, early detection. And this move by the government will allow more women to find cancer early.
When you look at the trends across this country that all governments are looking at in terms of screening ages, where does Manitoba fare in terms of in terms of that? Other provinces have been doing this ahead of us, and some are also lagging behind, I think.
Yes, there have been many provinces that have taken action before Manitoba. For example, there have been 4 provinces that have been doing this for at least 30 years. And provinces like Nova Scotia, British Columbia, PEI, it's been a long time since they've been offering this. So we're really happy to see Manitoba join the other provinces. Right now, we have 7 provinces and territories that are screening at age 40. 3 of them are at 45, but we expect 2 of those 3 to lower to 40. And we have Saskatchewan at 43. So Manitoba is at the bottom end, but that's one reason why we're hoping to see it move to 40 much earlier than next December, because there is urgency here. We can save a lot more lives if the screening age is lowered to 40 as soon as possible. Well,
what's the lag been? As you said, some of these provinces have had this in place for decades. I know that we've done some reporting on for some time. It was thought that it was better not to screen early because there was a greater prevalence and higher number of false positives early, and then that further sort of caused complications in the system. So, what was your reaction to that period of time, and how should people weigh that?
Well, the problem was that our national body, the Canadian Task Force on Preventive Healthcare, was using outdated and flawed evidence and putting a great stress on these false positives and these harms. We've recently done a survey where we asked women if the risk of having a recall, because there's no such thing as a false positive, but a recall for more imaging after a screening test would deter them from future imaging. And 97% said no. They would rather have the risk of having a recall for more additional pictures. This anxiety that's being referred to from false positives is transient. And, every woman we have spoken to would rather be safe than sorry.
Can you talk about the name of your organization, Dense Breasts Canada, and why breast density is important when we're talking about screening?
Well, we started this organization in 2016 because women were not being informed of their breast density. So no one in Canada was being told if they had dense breasts or not. And we found that was not right, because having dense breasts has 2 implications. There are 2 risks. One is it increases the risk of breast cancer. And the second one, that it increases the risk that cancer will not be detected on a mammogram. It makes it harder to see cancer because dense breast tissue shows up as white on a mammogram, which is an X-ray, and cancer shows up as white. So there can be a masking effect. So women are sometimes told that their mammogram is normal when in fact they do have breast cancer. So we wanted women to be informed of this so that they could be proactive about their breast health, because mammograms are not enough for women who have dense breasts.
And there's 4 categories I understand as well. Can you walk us through them, because they're the letters A, B, C, and D. And if you're in C and D, you're at most risk. But what does that actually mean?
Right. Well, breast density is a continuum. A and B are not dense. C and D are dense. There's more white tissue as you go up the alphabet, which means there's more risk of having cancer hidden. So women with the highest category, category D, have a 40% chance that their cancer is going to be missed on mammogram. Women category C have about a 30% chance. That's why it's so important for those women to get additional screening. And in 7 provinces, women in category D are given annual mammograms. In Manitoba, they are not. In some provinces, there's more use of 3D mammography, which can pick up an additional cancer and reduce false positives or recalls. Manitoba, we hope to see Manitoba use more 3D mammography so more cancers can be found, but we'd really like to see Manitoba implement supplemental screening. There's many provinces that are allowing women to get additional screening if they have dense breasts. In Manitoba, no. And so that, again, puts women at great risk.
And I just want to interject there. How would a woman know if they have dense breasts? Is it only after you go from a mammogram and you're informed by a healthcare provider, or is there a way to tell?
No, there's no way that you can tell yourself. It's not by look or feel. You have to have a mammogram in order to know. The radiologist then will assess the density. And that's another reason why we're so happy to see the screening age lower to 45. That means more women are going to learn if they have dense breasts, and they're going to be able to be proactive about their breast health and perhaps reduce some mitigating risk factors and lifestyle risk factors. So more knowledge is power. That's why we really want to see as many women as possible take advantage of the option to self-refer at 45. And we hope that the government is going to do its part in raising awareness, because it's really not enough to just put a policy change out there. They really have to make a concerted effort to let as many women as possible know, to reach underserved communities, and get the word out that that women are now eligible at 45, because the Canadian Cancer Society just did a study that showed that only 36% of women are aware what the eligible age is in their province, and only 65% of family doctors are aware. So we need awareness. Along with this policy change, we're hoping the government will put funding behind awareness raising.
Thank you very much for being with us this morning, Jenny. Happy New Year. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too. Thanks so much.
That's Jenny Dale with us, founder and executive director of Dense Breast Canada, weighing in on her thoughts of where Manitoba needs to go from here, and also where we'll start in the new year, which is lowering the screening age for breast cancer to 45 from 50. By the end of next year, it should go down to 40. Let's get to Heather Welsh. She is here with other headlines and news at 3 minutes to 8. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, almost a dozen train cars derailed near Jubilee Station yesterday. CN Rail says 8 flipped over on their side. One was upright. David Neufeld lives in a nearby condo building. He says it shook from the impact. Now, the cars weren't carrying dangerous goods. No one was hurt. The Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service responded to 3 garage fires in 24 hours over the weekend. And while those fires are still under investigation and no one was hurt, it is prompting calls from the fire service for you to be careful when using block heaters or space heaters. We'll hear more in our next local news coming up at 8:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Minus 25 in Winnipeg, minus 16 is the high, increasing cloud for the day. If you need us on the commute, which has been quiet so far, 788-3205 is where you can reach us. Well, this is the time of year where a lot of us are in the kitchen. Maybe you've been in the kitchen. Maybe you're heading into the kitchen if you're hosting something for New Year's, or last week you were doing something for Hanukkah or Christmas or just some seasonal gatherings. How about some inspiration from someone who knows their way around the kitchen? Winnipeg's culinary scene is heading to the national stage. We will be joined after 8 o'clock by Chef Emily Butcher of Nola, a restaurant in St. B. She's going to represent the city at the 2026 Canadian Culinary Championship. So we're going to talk to her all about that coming up after 8 o'clock. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at Information Radio. Darren Marash, Abby Adeyemi, and Marshall Hodgins behind the glass on our team today. And thanks for joining all of us. World Report is coming up next with Sam Sampson, who's filling in hosting, and we'll hear more about what's happening in national news. Stay with us on CBC.
Breaking news happens anywhere, anytime.
Police have warned the protesters repeatedly.
CBC News brings the story to you live.
Hundreds of wildfires are burning.
Be the first to know what's going on and what that means for you and for Canada.
This situation has changed very quickly.
Helping make sense of the world when it matters most. Stay in the know. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current.
I'm Pia Chattopadhyay. Do you remember who was Prime Minister at the start of 2025? This year in Canadian politics has been a doozy, and our National Affairs panel is here to dissect it all, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm Sam Sampson in Edmonton. Details are emerging from the talks between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Florida. The leaders met for nearly 3 hours to discuss a possible peace plan, and while both say progress is being made, key issues remain unresolved. Steve Futterman is following this story. Steve, what's the latest coming out of the Trump-Zelensky talks?
Well, Sam, it's clear the U.S. and Ukraine seem to be pretty much on the same page, at least based on the comments from Trump and Zelensky after their 2-hour meeting. Take a listen to both men giving their upbeat assessments.
We had a terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things, and I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close.
We had a really great discussions on all the topics, and we appreciate the progress that was made by American and Ukrainian teams.
That's the good news. The complicated news is that they still have to sell their ideas to Vladimir Putin and Russia. That could be a very hard sell. The revised 20-point peace plan, the plan includes 2 key proposals: the establishment of a demilitarized zone in eastern Ukraine and an international peacekeeping force to monitor the area. And Trump did admit that some of the issues are a bit tricky, especially when it comes to, as he referred to it, land.
So Russia was not included in these talks. How is Moscow responding?
Well, again, there's a public side and a more complicated, maybe more realistic side. Today, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov indicated that the talks to end the war are in their final stage, whatever that means. And when asked if he agreed with Trump's upbeat assessment, he said, of course. But Russia has not publicly moved from its hardline stance that parts of eastern Ukraine should be handed over to Russia, and there is still no indication that Putin would be willing to agree to that international peacekeeping force, which could involve international military troops. So again, the public face, everyone's saying they're upbeat, they're positive, that something might be close, but still no hard indication that Russia might be willing to agree to this demilitarized zone.
Steve, thank you for this.
Thank you, Sam.
Now, the Ukrainian president is not the only world leader meeting with Trump this week. Today, he'll host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his Mar-a-Lago resort. The meeting comes as Israel faces regional tensions following attacks in Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria. Blake Sifton is tracking this story from Tel Aviv. Blake, what's at the top of the agenda for today's meeting?
When he meets Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Trump is expected to push for progress toward phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan. The body of one hostage remains in Gaza, and Israel has said previously that they won't go forward with phase 2 until his body is returned. But Netanyahu is coming under increasing pressure to move forward with the process. There are also reports that many officials in the Trump administration are growing frustrated with Netanyahu, believing that he's trying to stall the peace process. Now, phase 2 is supposed to see a transitional government of Palestinian technocrats govern Gaza and be overseen by an international body that's being called the Board of Peace. And an international stabilization force is meant to enter Gaza and disarm Hamas as Israeli forces withdraw from Gaza. But many serious obstacles need to be overcome. We still don't know which leaders will join the Board of Peace. No countries have publicly agreed to contribute troops to the force, and Hamas has flatly refused to fully disarm.
But the Gaza ceasefire is not all that will be discussed. What else is on the table?
Netanyahu is also expected to discuss Israeli concerns that Iran is rebuilding and possibly expanding its supply of ballistic missiles after the 12-day war with Israel in June. Some 50 ballistic missiles evaded Israeli air defenses during that war and caused widespread damage. And there are reports that Netanyahu may go as far as presenting President Trump today with plans for a renewed military campaign against Iran. And the two leaders are also expected to discuss Lebanon, where fears are growing that Israel will return to war against Hezbollah if the group is not disarmed by the Lebanese military by the end of this year.
Blake Sifton tracking this from Tel Aviv. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tensions are rising in the Taiwan Strait as China launches major military drills near the island. Video from Taiwan's military shows jets taking off in response to what it calls a large-scale Chinese exercise. Beijing says it's conducting live fire drills with warships, aircraft, and rockets, simulating a blockade and the seizure of key areas. Taiwan has placed its forces on high alert. China claims the island as its own and has repeatedly threatened to take it by force. A man being called a hero in Australia says he wasn't thinking about bravery, only stopping the killing. Ahmed Al-Ahmed is a Sydney shopkeeper who tackled and disarmed a gunman during the deadly attack at Bondi Beach earlier this month. In his first interview since the shooting, Al-Ahmed tells CBS News he saw the weapon and ran toward it, even after being shot multiple times.
I know I save lots of people's life, innocent kids and women and oldest and man, and I know I save lots, but I feel sorry still for the lost.
The attack at a Hanukkah gathering killed at least 15 people. Police say Al-Ahmed's actions likely saved lives. He's recovering in hospital as donations pour in from around the world. This new year, Canadians are lacing up their running shoes. The sport is booming, with Gen Z at the front of the pack. Paula Duhacek explains why run clubs are having such a moment.
All right, everybody, how we feeling tonight?
In the parking lot of a Calgary brewery, hundreds of 20 and 30-somethings have gathered to go for a run together.
You know, I think there's been a little bit of a running boom since COVID.
The founder of YYC Run Crew, Rafael Lopez, says many of the club's new members are also new in town. The Alberta bank ATB Financial says in recent years, the province has seen a massive surge in young people moving here from other parts of the country. Millennials and Gen Zs searching for new friends, using run clubs to try and find them.
I think because people are just so tired of just being isolated from other people.
After COVID, I was working from home. I kind of didn't have a social group.
But I know that running has become like the next dating platform.
Even without a population boom, a similar trend is unfolding elsewhere in the country. Ottawa race organizer Somersault says it's seen about a 300% increase in registration since before the pandemic. It says runners are also getting younger.
As I grew up, at that time it was very fun, and something to envy was to go and get drunk.
But Gen Z expert Michelle Nguyen says that's not cool anymore. Young people are less interested in nightclubs, more interested in run clubs.
Particularly because they're able to invite their friends but still kind of lean into health and wellness.
And while many people pledge to get healthy at this time of year, Nguyen says the Gen Z interest in health and wellness isn't just a passing fad, but a defining part of the generation. Paula Duhacek, CBC News, Calgary.
And you can hear more on why running is having a moment in Paula's CBC radio special called The Running Revival. It airs January 2nd at 5 p.m., 5:30 in Newfoundland. And finally, a former Ontario NDP MP, Charlie Angus, is rethinking retirement. After nearly 21 years in Parliament, he did not seek re-election last spring, and he planned to write a book. But that plan changed after Donald Trump won the U.S. election. The CBC's Elizabeth Thompson caught up with Angus as he prepared to hit the road and the stage with his band.
I've been everywhere, man, I've been everywhere.
Over the past 8 months, Charlie Angus has indeed been everywhere, from Rustico, Prince Edward Island to BC's Sunshine Coast, and everywhere in between. Last year, Angus decided not to run again as MP for his Northern Ontario riding. He wanted a break from politics to work on a book. Then Donald Trump got elected.
We're facing the threat to democracy. International institutions are stressed in a way they've never been before. We're facing a threat to our border, which is very real.
Angus has been speaking at town halls across the country, urging Canadians to stand up to Trump. He's also returned to his musical roots, playing gigs with his band, the Grievous Angels.
Well, I'm having a blast. I love this country. I love traveling. I love going into these communities.
Along the way, he's also developed a following on social media. His website has 71,000 followers. In September, he teamed up with popular U.S. news site Midas Touch. His Midas Canada YouTube channel has more than 208,000 subscribers. Angus says people stop him in the street, thanking him for standing up for Canada. Some have also asked him to run for the NDP leadership.
Oh, I hear that all the time. Ain't happening. Playing with the band.
Angus says he's not ready to change his tune. So for now, he'll keep fighting Donald Trump and taking that message across Canada. Elizabeth Thompson, CBC News, Ottawa.
That's the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Sam Sampson.
Good morning, Manitoba, and welcome to Monday. We are live in downtown Winnipeg on CBC's Information Radio. I'm Mercy Marcusa. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. It's cold. This just in. It's winter. It's going to stay cold. It's particularly frigid this morning, though. Minus 25 currently. We'll update that for you in a moment, as a lot of people with the day off today. Well, this half hour on the program, if you want some inspiration, we've got it for you in the kitchen and on the running scene. First of all, let's talk about Winnipeg's culinary scene, heading to the national stage. We will be joined live by Chef Emily Butcher of NOLA, who's representing the city at the 2026 Culinary Canadian Championships. So stay tuned. We're going to find out how she made her way there and how she earned her spot. Also, as you've just been hearing on World Report, running is making a comeback of sorts, especially with some of the younger generations. But we're going to get some inspiration to get moving from someone who is 77 years old and in 2025 pulled off her first 100-mile trail run. So just incredible. And she didn't actually begin running until she was over the age of 50. So stay tuned. We're going to hear a bit from her in a special re-air of a story we brought you earlier this year. She's just delightful. Right now, though, let's go to Heather Wells, who has other news headlines this morning. Hi there.
Hi, good morning. Well, a Manitoba man says he's frustrated even as the province says progress is being made expanding spinal care capacity. Data provided to CBC suggests the province has seen about 15% more spinal surgeries in 2024 and 25 compared to 2023. Rob Doig, though, has lived with debilitating neurospinal issues since an injury in 2016. Manitoba Health denied a request from his surgeon to send him to Minneapolis for care. We're going to hear more. And a Ukrainian who lives in Winnipeg now says she has faith the war could end next year. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced more economic aid for Ukraine after meeting with Ukraine's president over the weekend. Mila Shikota says a new round of Russian attacks shows the country needs all the help it can get. Our next news coming up at 8:30.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Let's get to what's happening in the weather forecast. Abby.
Yeah, Marcy, chilly start to the week across the province. We're seeing temperatures way below that zero mark this morning, gripping most of the regions, and we're tracking some snow still in the northern part of the province this morning, though the south will see a mix of sun and clouds as the clouds will roll in much later in the afternoon. Extreme cold still gripping Tuduli Lake and the far northern part of the province, with those wind chills around -41s and -45s. So frostbite is a concern. But Winnipeg right now, frigid -24. Clear for now. We will see some clouds roll in as the day goes on. Some light breeze will shift to the north, and then it's going to push our temperatures down to about -15 by the afternoon period. Tonight stays cloudy. We're going to see temperatures around -18. But for the southern part of the province, we're seeing morning temperatures between -21 and -26. Most regions will see highs around -12 to -19, but up north, that's where we have the concern, where the wind chill actually feels like -41. Winnipeg right now, we are just sitting at -24, and it's clear.
Traffic is fine. If not, and you want to update something, use a commuter line, 788-3093. Kind of a beautiful sky out there in this cold start to the morning. I was just looking at the shot on our YouTube page. If you're watching the show stream there, it's almost
like a pinky purple right now. Well, Winnipeg's culinary scene, as I mentioned, is going to take national spotlight this January. Chef Emily Butcher will represent the city at the 2026 Canadian Culinary Championships in Ottawa. It's a competition happening January 30th to 31st. It's part of Canada's Great Kitchen Party, which is an annual event that brings together the country's top chefs. Emily earned her place on the national stage after winning gold at the Winnipeg Regional Qualifier October 1st. Her award-winning dish impressed judges with its exceptional technical precision and bold Canadian flavors, they said. Joining us to talk more about her participation in this competition in the new year is Emily Butcher. She's the executive chef and owner of Nola in St. B, which is a great restaurant. If you've never been, go order the carrots. Hello, Emily. How are you?
Hello, good. How are you?
I'm very well. I mentioned the carrots because it's one of those things where you go carrots and then you have them.
I know, they're still our top seller.
I bet they are. How are you feeling about this national championship?
I'm super excited. Any chance to represent Winnipeg on a national stage, it's always a huge honor. And I love competing. The adrenaline rush is like no other, and it just really pushes you to new heights.
And when you're competing in a setting like this, are you actually under a time? Do you compete against a time clock as well, or how does what are the rules of the competition? When you're going to be doing this.
So it's actually over a weekend, and there's 3 different competitions involved. So the first is a mystery wine pairing. You get an unlabeled bottle of wine, and you sit down with your sommelier, put a dish together. You have to run around the city grabbing ingredients on a pretty tight budget, and then you serve that dish to a couple hundred people usually. The next competition is the black box. So you're given 7 Canadian ingredients, and you and your sous chef have to make 2 dishes in 1 hour. And then the finale is when you get to bring the dish that you prepared back home and sort of your signature dish for the competition.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the award-winning dish that got you to this competition?
Of course. It's a maximalist dish, I'll say. There's a lot going on.
Okay.
I wanted to do some contrast on the dish. So on one side you have the smoked duck and squash dumplings. And they're sitting in a fermented carrot massaman curry sauce. And then on the other side of the plate is a black pepper glazed octopus with a fermented kohlrabi salad, and that's sitting in a coconut leche de tigre.
So I love to eat. I'm not a strong cook. And how do you come up with the dishes? Like, how long does it actually take? Is it a moment of inspiration where you go, this will work? Or does it evolve as you're cooking? For you, what's your process like when you come up with a great dish?
It definitely evolves. This dish in particular took a couple months to come together. Trial and error and thinking through things. It all kind of started with wanting to showcase a dumpling. And I just always draw from lots of my family childhood food memories, things that are nostalgic to me and flavors that really bring a lot of warmth and are inviting on the plate.
Is a dumpling nostalgic to you? Like what when you talk about childhood memories, what foods for you are those foods?
Yes. So I'm half Chinese and I grew up in Vancouver. So roast duck was always that's a very special occasion dish for us. Mm-hmm. And then making dumplings was something that my aunties and my grandma, we would get together, sit around the kitchen table. And I was very small, so I think all I got to do was roll out the wrappers. I wasn't allowed to fold them yet, but I have a lot of fond memories from that time.
In terms of the presentation, we're on radio, so it's a little bit more challenging. We are putting some pictures on YouTube, but I know that was one of the things that the judges really loved, that technical precision, but also what things looked like. How do you like to plate? What did this one look like?
So there's a lot of color on the plate, and I used a lot of Manitoba vegetables, specifically from Wild Earth Farms. So the carrot curry is very bright orange. We juiced a bunch of their carrots to bring out that color. And then there's a chili oil and a green oil. And then we actually used beet juice to color the dumpling wrappers. So they're a bright red. And And then in contrast, the coconut sauce is stark white.
How are you preparing then for a competition like this? Whereas you phased, as you mentioned, rather there's different phases of this. How do you prepare for it?
So for the wine competition, we're talking with the sommelier about different Canadian wines, varietals, what sort of dishes we would pair with them. We're looking at maps of Ottawa to see where we can easily take a couple cab rides and then bring it all back to the prep space.
Smart.
And then the black box. We've been running black boxes every couple weeks, and that's a lot of fun for the whole team. We're running around trying to put things together, and then we all get to sit down and eat them together, and just like brainstorm about different ideas, what we could do if we get certain ingredients. Yeah.
It's interesting because you were talking about hailing from Vancouver, which is a phenomenal food city. And of course, much different and bigger city than Winnipeg is. But what do you think makes Winnipeg's food scene unique on a national level?
Yes, I moved here 10 years ago. And I love the character and the sort of grit and determination. I feel like the Winnipeg culinary scene is very creative and very supportive of each other. There's lots of pop-ups, lots of collaborative dinners, and the people that come out and dine, they thrive on that. They love a really exciting dining experience, and I really enjoy connecting.
Well, what would your advice be if someone's listening and they're a young or emerging chef in Winnipeg? And you can be real with this. I mean, do you have to leave to build? Is the industry still, really, should you go to a bigger center first, or can you make it all happen here? What's it like?
It depends where you want to go. I had a lot of different opportunities come up along the way, and I just kept saying, yes, let's do it. Let's try it. And I think it's fun to treat it like an adventure. You're going along and you're picking up different ideas and different methods from different people along the way. So of course, sometimes it's great to go out and see the big cities, what they're doing out there. But it doesn't. You'll learn something everywhere you go, I think.
And speaking of learning, before you go this morning, what are you hoping to take away from this championship, the Canadian Culinary Championship? I mean, regardless of outcome.
For me, going to a big competition like this, it's an opportunity to see what other chefs are doing, to be inspired by them, to network a bit, meet other people in the industry, and just see what you can do when you're under that much pressure. I think you can always surprise yourself and come up with something even better than you could imagine.
And it's so cool that they're spotlighting chefs across Canada in this way, which is part of the value. Emily, good luck, and thank you so much for being with us this morning. Happy New Year.
Oh, thank you so much. Happy New Year.
That is Emily Butcher, executive chef and owner of Nola, a restaurant in St. Boniface here in Winnipeg. She's representing the city and the province at the 2026 Canadian Culinary Championships. They happen in Ottawa at the end of January.
Celebrate New Year's Eve with CBC.
The party is just getting started here.
Cue the fireworks.
We are going live on New Year's Eve.
Taking the party nationwide.
Bringing in each new year one by one.
That's 6 different countdowns.
With surprise guests and familiar faces.
Let's make this New Year's a night for the ages.
Your countdown begins right here.
Live Cross Canada Countdown. Watch free on CBC Gem or wherever you stream CBC.
Chloe Friesen and Marshall Hodgins going to be representing Manitoba on that broadcast. They're going to be live at Zoo Lights. So if that's your plan for New Year's Eve, swing by the camera and make us look good, won't you? So that's all live New Year's Eve on CBC, as you heard. -24 is the temperature. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Next on the show, if you've been listening to World Report this morning, you heard how running is seeing a huge surge in popularity. It's driven a lot of it by Gen Z. But our next story is going to give you some inspiration to run from a different generation. Anita Bedard set out a big goal for herself this fall. She wanted to run 100 miles in 48 hours. Now, that's a big goal for anyone. But when you're 77, I would say it's extra impressive. So she did this in the Beaudry Fall Classic. It challenges runners to see how many 5K loops of Beaudry Provincial Park, and that's near Headingley, that they can do over the course of a weekend. Now, not only did she pull it off, she did it in 39 hours despite raining conditions and no sleep. We polled this Riera today because she's joyful when you talk to her. I talked to her the morning after her October race. Good morning. Congrats.
Good morning. Thank you.
How's your body feeling this morning?
Broken. Very broken.
Why did you want to do this? This was your first 100-miler.
I knew you would ask that question and that there was no answer, because why would anyone want to do that? It's just always been a goal of mine. I started running when I was 53 and had done multiple marathons, ultra marathons, triathlon. And I don't know, it's just the pinnacle of running, I guess, is to get that belt buckle. So that was it.
How incredible. Just so people understand what 100 miles is, 160 kilometers. That's over 4 back-to-back marathons. What I'm intrigued about is you just said you started running at 53.
Yes. I had never been an athlete.
That's incredible. So when you first took your first running steps, how challenging was it compared to what it is today for you?
Very challenging. I started by running. Well, initially, what made me decide to start running is I had put weight on with menopause, and I thought, well, I have to do something. I've got to get out and catch this. So I started walking with my sister early morning before work, and found that walking, I couldn't keep up. She was a very fast walker, and so there I am trying to keep up with her, and I just decided, well, I might as well start running. It's easier. And ran one lamppost to the next, walk the next, and then next lamppost again, run. And that's how it all started.
I love that. I also find that really motivating as a woman who is really just somewhere on the line of menopause, Anita.
Yes.
That's incredible at 53. This weekend, I mean, what a feat! You had to run pretty much through 2 straight nights. What was that like? Did you hit any low points?
It wasn't so much that the lack of sleep. It was Saturday. I did really well Friday. I could run. I did manage through Friday night. I managed to get 100 kilometers in 20 hours. But Saturday, my back gave way on me, and I had to struggle through Saturday night. And then that is where my friend jumped in. She had registered to do the 24-hour, and she started her race. She had done a couple of laps, came in, and I was sitting at the tent. I had such a low point at that point. I was done. I cannot keep going. My back and my hip were killing me. And Ev said to me, come on, we're going to go. You can keep going. We'll do just one step at a time, one loop at a time. So she got me up and got me moving, and then stuck with me for the rest of the way.
I love
just
that.
Paced me and kept me going.
This is your friend Evelyn Crow. She's 78. She was there, and she paced you halfway through the race. That's incredible.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
It's interesting, right? You were talking about the beginning of your journey, just walking with your sister, and here you are now with your friend Evelyn in this, also needing that extra motivation. What's the reaction people give you, Anita, when you tell them, I'm an ultra marathoner, or even when you started talking about all of your running feats, and then you share, you're 77 years old?
I don't know. Most people are like, why do you want to do that? Are you crazy?
They must be inspired, though, really, by hearing your story, I bet.
We do hear that a lot, my friend and I. We do hear it a lot, that people, they're inspired, and we motivate them, because we do run with a group of women that are 50s and in their 60s, and the younger people are always saying how much we inspire them. But like I say, we don't think about it too much, because we are running with a group of women that are in their 60s, and they do amazing feats also. So we don't consider we're extraordinary. We don't think about our age.
So I guess the last question is, would you do this again? An ultra, 100 miles?
You know what? Today I'm saying absolutely not. But I've got both granddaughters now saying, Grandma, we're going to do one with you. You have to do one with us. So I won't say never, but today it's feeling like, too hard on the body. I don't think I'll try that one again. But there are big other goals. Now we're looking at high rocks. That's another big competition out there. It's with weight running. You run, I think you run a mile, and then there's so many wall balls you do. Then you run and you carry a big sandbag. Then you run again and you push a sled. Really crazy thing.
Congrats on all of this. I hope you do that. We'll have you on after you do that too, Anita. And congrats on what you achieved this weekend. I appreciate having you on CBC.
Thank you very much.
That is 77-year-old Anita Bedard. She ran 100 miles this fall through Brody Provincial Park in 39 hours. We spoke to her the morning after the race in October. We're wondering if you have fitness goals for 2026, or how did you achieve something, or did you rather achieve something maybe inspiring this year that was physical? You can always call the listener line, or you can share your story on Radio Noon. The call in today is your top memory of 2025. So put the news cycle aside, forget about the headlines. In your life in Manitoba, what was the top news in your life, your top memory? What's your story? You can call in. It's interactive, of course, between 12:30 and 1. Guest host Bruce Layden will be there to answer the phone. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is minus 24. It is a cold one. We do have a risk of frostbite. Our high this afternoon, minus 16. Progress to expand spinal care capacity in Manitoba isn't happening quickly enough for some. Data provided to CBC News suggests the province has seen about 15% more spinal surgeries in 2024 and 25 compared to 2023. Rob Doig has lived with debilitating neurospinal issues since an injury in 2016. Manitoba Health denied a request by Doig's surgeon to send him to Minneapolis for care. The 48-year-old says he feels left in the lurch.
Really becomes frustrating because as the patient, and as somebody that's living this who is affected in working, social life, mental and cognitive issues, it really piles on. And I really had to fight Manitoba Health.
Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera says the province's focus is to deliver care locally. Almost a dozen train cars derailed near Jubilee Station yesterday. CN Rail says 8 flipped over onto their side. There was one that was upright. David Neufeld lives in a nearby condo building and says the whole building shook from the impact.
Just the fact that it shook, I thought this is something, I could tell that it was definitely coming from the rail yard.
The cause of the derailment is under investigation, but CN Rail says no dangerous goods, fires, or leaks were reported, and no one was hurt. A Ukrainian woman living in Winnipeg says she will always be grateful for Canada's support. Over the weekend, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced $2.5 billion in new economic aid for Ukraine. Mila Shikota says Canada has been a strong ally, and years after Russia's invasion, she still hopes for peace.
I write my plans and dreams on a small piece of paper, and after the year, I open this piece of paper and I see if it became true or not. Each year, I write so that we will be able to gather all our family to go to Ukraine.
U.S. President Donald Trump met with Ukraine's president yesterday and says a peace deal is closer than ever. Thinking of plugging in your car or maybe doing a project in the garage this winter? The Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service wants you to be extra careful to avoid a potentially disastrous fire. Deputy Fire Chief Jay Shaw says they typically see more garage fires in the winter.
What we see primarily is people using heaters, extension cords, and, possibly improperly storing flammable gasoline and other flammable contents inside the garage.
Over the weekend, fire crews responded to 3 different garage fires in 24 hours. No one was hurt. The cause of those fires is under investigation. Well, Canada is back on the ice today as it plays its third game in the IIHF World Junior Hockey Championship in Minnesota. Canada is facing off with Denmark. They beat Denmark handily in the pre-tournament game 13-2, but defenseman Kayshawn Aitchison, a Toronto native who plays for the Barrie Colts of the Ontario Hockey League, says that result won't impact his team's approach tonight.
We kind of just don't even think about that and we just move forward. Obviously, you can beat a team 20-0 if you lose in the preliminary games. What does that matter? So we take every game like it's our last, and we know that every game is just as important as another. So.
Puck drop from Minnesota. Canada against Denmark is set for just after 7:30 Central Time tonight. You can find the latest news updated throughout your day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells in our news department this morning with Joanne Levisser, so thanks to them. Also thanks to producer in unit Nellie Gonzalez, and this week Donna Carrero. Also associate producers with items in today's program, Sabina Ahmed, Sophia Peralta-Barone, and Corey Funk. Our faith contributor John Longhurst with his column on today's show. And then our studio crew here in 15, Marshall Hodgins, Abby Adiemi, and Darren Marash. Well, we had a good morning traffic-wise. Let's round it out with some weather, Abby.
Well, the province waking up to frigid start with sub-zero temperatures province-wide. Extreme cold still as you travel further to the northern part of the province. Though the south starting between -21 and -26, and we'll see highs between -12 and -19. For the northern regions, we're still seeing those light snow and the dangerous wind chills. We see wind chills in the range of -41s this morning. But Winnipeg, we're currently at -24. We warm up to -15. We get to see some sunshine this morning before the clouds roll in.
It's always sunny when it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Traffic, as I mentioned, pretty good. Remember, we are live with shows all day today, so if you do have something to report, please keep that number handy, 788-3093. Up to Speed is coming up between 3 and 6 for your drive home. And even though there's no school in, it could be busy out there as people are out and about and still continuing with different gatherings and winter festivities and maybe out and about with the kids doing different things as well. You can continue to weigh in. We're getting Facebook comments. I'd love to get calls on this. We are asking what you think the top 3 stories of the year were in Manitoba and why. And we're getting a number of different lists. Some of them are starting to cross over now. Dan Lester saying number 1 for him, Manitoba wildfires. Number 2 for him was U.S. tariffs. And third, he put Prairie Grove landfill searches, which of course did result in some successful finding. So a lot of people writing in about what their thoughts are on the top headlines and stories of 2025. And as we click through the next few days, we'd love to hear from you. So that listener line once again is 204-788-3205, wherever you're listening from across our province. Stay warm, everybody. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We'll talk to you again tomorrow right here on CBC.